It's just gonna be me here alone. Oh, we got some people joining. Bella, look. Got people looking at us. Say hi.
August 18.
There?
Oh, that was
No, the doorbell, is that a ring doorbell?
Yeah, like when you got a visitor, it does. But I don't think the speaker is on where you hear it. Like by.
Okay, I guess my question for you is, would it show her leaving with the kids? Did you have any alerts?
If she came out here, yes. Like if.
Did you have any alerts today with that?
Just when her friends were here.
Does it only record when the doorbell rings, or anytime someone?
If you're like right here, it should just start. The proximity should hit up.
Okay, and if you had anything on that today?
Just her friends.
And what time was that?
12:10 and about 2 minutes afternoon.
Okay. But nothing between the time when she got here this morning?
Like she got here at 2. Only thing
this morning?
2 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
Like 1:48 on here. And the only thing that was weird was that the garage door said it was left open after I left. And it might have been the sensor, but like my phone doesn't show when
For your
shuts.
alarm?
Yeah, it doesn't show if it shuts.
And who's your alarm through?
Vivint.
Okay.
But Nikki, her friend that came here about 12:10, she said the garage door was shut when she got here.
Okay.
That was the only thing that was weird.
All right. Were you going to hang out there, or you want to come in here?
I'll stay right here.
Okay.
If this stillness holds you, a quiet gesture helps sustain these long-form investigations. Taking a
Mr.
moment
Watts,
to
why
like
did
the
you kill
video
your
or
wife and 2
subscribe
children?
allows stories like this to be examined with the time and care they demand, bringing hidden truths into focus, one layer at a time.
Girls.
Oh, CC
Girls.
Bella.
Okay, you want chocolate? No chocolate? If you want chocolate, you just get this bowl. You want this one? Bigger one? We're gonna go.
I love you too.
This is the morning. This is why I love that I thrive.
So, Chris, it's your house. You can go inside with us if you'd like, or you could stay out here. It doesn't matter to us.
Doesn't matter. I mean, free reign, just whatever you got to do.
Okay.
Like I can show on the decks on the side of the sun. But
Okay.
cool.
All right. Whatever you'd like. How long have you guys been married?
So we've been together 8 years, married 6 this year.
Okay. And this is very unusual behavior?
Yeah, we can get that dog out of here.
Okay.
She's gonna flip.
I don't want to be in it. Get lower.
I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like somebody has to come forward.
Tell them you love them.
You're welcome. We love you.
Say love you.
Candy.
Oh yeah, shoot, that's in here.
Position of trust with respect to the victim in violation of Colorado Revised Statutes 18-3-102, subsection 1, subsection F. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Count 5 alleges murder in the first degree, a class 1 felony. It alleges that between and including August 12th, 2018 and August 13th, 2018, Christopher Lee Watts unlawfully, feloniously, and knowingly caused the death of Celeste Watts, a child who had not yet attained 12 years of age, and the defendant was in a position of trust with respect to the victim in violation of Colorado Revised Statutes 18-3-102, subsection 1, subsection F. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
With regard to these first 5 counts, the minimum sentence that the court could impose if convicted is life imprisonment in the Colorado Department of Corrections, and the maximum sentence is death. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Let me also point out that pursuant to Rule 32.1 of the Rules of Criminal Procedure.
Hey guys, good morning, or I know for Colorado people it's good morning, good afternoon for everybody else. I wanted to come here live because today is the big day for the huge. Our cocktail party is tonight, where Product X is going to be released. We're super excited. We're heading to the pool right now, and then we have a massage today paid for by Lavelle today at 3:30. So Chris and I are super excited. So we're gonna get a massage after we lay by the pool for a little bit and maybe go to the beach again. And then we're going to go to the cocktail party. And we will be live there tonight.
Objectively say that this is perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen. And nothing less than a maximum sentence would be appropriate. And anything less than the maximum sentence would depreciate the seriousness of this offense. Deputies, I would respectfully ask that you take this defendant into custody and have him serve the rest of his life in the Department of Corrections. We are in recess.
Everyone needs to deserve this. Everyone. Absolutely everyone. Tell them how much fun it is.
It's amazing.
This place is nuts. It is phenomenal. We're gonna go have some fun. Get to hear what's coming out. It's absolutely exciting. We're super excited. We'll be back here live shortly, guys. Love you.
I don't want them to really go in the ocean. I mean,
Ready, set,
Go.
ready, set.
The pool opens in 2 weeks too.
what's the degrees today?
85 last I checked. 120.
Wow.
No, CC.
Yeah.
CC, get girl.
Oh God. Oh my gosh, are you kidding? She can climb that fence.
What I'd like to say to the courts that Shannon, Bella, and Nico are loving, caring people. They love life. They love being around people who love them. They always had good times. This is the first time they went to the beach this year, and they loved it. But God only knows what happened that night. Life will never be the same without Shannon, Bella, and Celeste and Nico. Had all their lives to live. They were taken by a heartless one. This is the heartless one, the evil monster, who dare you take the lives of my daughters Shannon, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. I trusted you to take care of them, not kill them. And they also trusted you. The heartless monster, and then you take them out like trash. You disgust me. They were loving and caring people. You may have taken their bodies from me, but you will never take the love they had from me. They loved us more than you will ever know, because you don't know what love is, because if you did, you would not have killed them. You monster, thought you would get away with this. I don't know how. The cameras do not lie. You carry them out like trash of the house. Yes, I seen the videotape. You buried my daughter Shannon and Nico in a shallow grave, and then you put Bella and Celeste in huge containers of crude oil. You heartless monster. You have to live with this vision every day of your life, and I hope you see that every time you close your eyes at night. Oh, I forgot. You have no heart or feelings or love. Let me tell you something. I will think of them every day of my life, and I love them every day of my life. Prison is too good for you. This is hard to say, but may God have mercy on your soul. I hope you enjoy your new life. It's nothing like the one you had out here. May the courts have no mercy on you. It's hard every day. It hurts in so many ways. I have heard people say that you're not a monster. No, you are not. You're an evil monster. Thank you. Love you, Shannon, Bella, and Nico. Love you, Pop and Dad. And one other thing. And Shannon says she is super excited for justice today. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Cece, play patty cake on Daddy's head.
Yeah, she's gripping it right now.
Cece, play patty cake on Daddy's head. Go whack-a-daddy.
Don't do that, Cece. Don't do it. Someone's got Holly.
Whack-a-daddy. Don't spit.
Don't spit on Daddy, please. Oh, that's a shower.
Careful, Bella, don't fall, okay? Whack-a-daddy. Whack-a-daddy. One more time, Daddy. Whack-a-daddy. Whack.
Your Honor, there are no words to adequately describe the unimaginable tragedy that brings us before this court today. By my comments, I'm not even going to try to express the horror, the pain, or the suffering that the defendant has caused to these families, to this community, and to all who were a part of this investigation. However, I do want to spend a few minutes sharing with the court the details of the crime, as so far you've only had an opportunity to review the affidavit and a few facts here and there that have been offered to the court in the motions and pleadings that have been filed. The questions that have screamed out to anyone who will listen since August 13th of 2018 are why and how. Why did this have to happen? How could a seemingly normal husband and father annihilate his entire family? For what? These are the questions that only one individual in this courtroom or on this planet knows the answers to. I fully expect we will not receive the answers to these questions today, nor will we at any point in the future. I don't expect that he will ever tell the truth about what truly happened or why. Even if he did, there is no rational way that any human being could find those answers acceptable responses to such horrific questions. The best we can do is try to piece together some kind of understanding from the evidence that is available to us. And the evidence tells us this: the defendant coldly and deliberately ended 4 lives, not in a fit of rage, not by way of accident, but in a calculated and sickening manner. Shanann was 34 years old. She had married the defendant in November of 2012. Over the weekend leading up to August 13th, she had been at a work conference in Phoenix, Arizona, and returned home in the early morning hours of August 13th. We know that she got home about 1:45 in the morning. The doorbell camera on their home shows her arriving back home from the airport. Shortly thereafter, at least according to the defendant, they had what he referred to as an emotional conversation about the state of their marriage and about what their lives would look like going forward. What was said during that emotional conversation, only he knows. What we do know is that shortly after that, the defendant strangled her to death with his own hands. We know that he slowly took her life the morning of August 13th. We know that this was not done in an uncontrolled, vengeful manner that he tried to describe to agents from CBI and the FBI. If that were the case, you would expect to see vicious, horrible bruising about her neck, shoulders, and face. You would expect to see the hyoid bone in her neck broken. You would expect to see some kind of defensive wounds on his body as she struggled and fought for her own life. None of those are present. The only injuries that were on Shanann's body were one set of finger or bruising, what appeared to be fingernail or finger mark bruising to the right side of her neck. We know that our experts will tell us that it takes 2 to 4 minutes to strangle someone to death manually with their own hands. The horror that she felt as the man that she loved wrapped his hands around her throat and choked the life out of her must have been unimaginable. Even worse, what must Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3, must have experienced or thought as their father, the one man on this planet who was supposed to nurture and protect them, was snuffing out their lives. They both died from smothering. Let me say that again. The man seated to my right smothered his daughters. Why? Imagine the horror in Bella's mind as her father took her last breaths away. Your Honor, understand very clearly, Bella fought back for her life. The frenulum, the connective tissue between her upper lip and her gum, had a centimeter and a half laceration. She bit her tongue multiple times before she died. She fought back for her life as her father smothered her. Celeste had no such injuries. In fact, she had no external injuries at all. But according to the medical examiner, she was smothered nonetheless. The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck, not in a hasty or disorganized way. He was seen from the neighbor's doorbell camera backing his truck into the driveway, going back and forth into the house and back out to the truck 3 different times, 1 time for each of their bodies. He then drove them away from their family home 1 final time, intent on hiding any evidence of the crimes that he had just committed. In 1 final sign of callousness for his wife, his daughters, and their unborn son, and their remains, he drove them to a location that he thought no one would ever find them, to one of the oil tank batteries with which he was so familiar. He knew this was safe. He had texted a coworker the night before saying, "I'll head out to that site. I'll take care of it." He had carefully ensured that he would be alone in the middle of the plains to secrete away the remains of his family in a place that he hoped they would never be found. In 1 final measure of disrespect for the family he once had, he ensured that they would not be together, even in death, or so he thought. He disposed of them in different locations. He buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave away from the oil tanks. Bella and Celeste were thrown away in the oil tanks at this facility. Different tanks, so these little girls wouldn't be together in death. Imagine this, Your Honor. This defendant took those little girls and put them through a hatch at the top of an oil tank, 8 inches in diameter. Bella had scratches on her left buttocks from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. The defendant told investigators that Bella's tank seemed emptier than CC's because of the sound that the splashes made. These were his daughters. Significantly, when his coworkers arrived at the tank battery later that morning, to a person, they all described him as acting completely normally. It was a normal workday, even while his daughters sank in the oil and water not far away from him. And then his efforts at deception truly began. We've all seen the emotionless interviews that the defendant gives to the local media, asking for help in locating his family. We watched as he claimed that the house was empty without them, and that he hoped that they were somewhere safe, and that he just wanted them to come home. He told investigators that they were at home sleeping when he left for work that morning, and that Shanann had told him that she was taking the girls to a friend's house for the day. What is striking about this case, Your Honor, beyond the horrors that I've already described to you, is the number of collateral victims that he created by his actions. While he stood in front of TV cameras asking for the safe return of his family, scores of law enforcement officers, neighbors, friends, and family scoured the area, fretted for their safe return. They texted him begging for any information and sending him their best wishes, all the while he hid what he had done. The list of indirect victims does not end there. Think of the firefighters and the Colorado State Patrol hazmat experts who had to don protective suits and who were called upon to pull Bella and Celeste out of those oil tanks. Or the coroner employees who had to conduct these autopsies. Or the victim assistants who frantically attempted to ease the suffering of those affected. All of this, Your Honor, for what? Why? Why did this have to happen? His motive was simple, Your Honor. He had a desire for a fresh start, to begin a relationship with a new love that overpowered all decency and feelings for his wife, his daughters, and unborn son. While Shanann texted the defendant over and over again in the days and weeks leading up to her death, attempting to save her marriage, the defendant secreted pictures of his girlfriend into his phone and searched and texted her at all hours of the night. While Shanann sent the defendant self-help and relationship counseling books, one of which, ironically enough, was thrown in the garbage, he was searching the internet for secluded vacation spots to take his new love in researching jewelry. And while Shanann took the girls to visit family in North Carolina, the defendant went to car museums and the sand dunes with his new girlfriend. The stark contrast between the subjects of their internet and text content is absolutely stunning. Even the morning after he killed them and disposed of their bodies, he made several phone calls. One was to the school where the girls were supposed to start, telling the school that the girls would not be coming to school anymore, that they were being unenrolled, presumably to give him some more time before law enforcement notification about them going missing. He contacted a realtor to start discussing the selling of his house, and he texted with his girlfriend about their future. None of this answers the questions of why, however. If he was this happy and wanted a new start, get a divorce. You don't annihilate your family and throw them away like garbage. Why did Nico, Celeste, Bella, and Shanann have to lose their lives in order for him to get what he wanted? Your Honor, justice demands the maximum sentence under the agreement reached by the parties. As you will recall, the agreement calls for life sentences as to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, and all of those to run consecutively to one another. It also calls for the count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy as to Nico to run consecutively to counts 1, 2, and 3. I would suggest that the extreme aggravation present in the defendant's conduct and in the efforts that I have described mandate that the sentences for counts 7, 8, and 9, the tampering with a deceased human body, each be the maximum of 12 years, and that those sentences run consecutively to one another. It is very clear that each of these acts, that these were not the subject of one act, but each oil tank that he walked up with his daughter's bodies and the hole that he dug for his wife and unborn son mandate a mandatory consecutive sentence. It's been alluded to this morning, but the defendant was certainly eligible for the death penalty in this case under the existing law in the state of Colorado. As you heard, Shanann's family strongly opposed my office seeking the death penalty and being bound to the criminal justice system for the next several decades. That's in large part, as you've heard, why we have reached the agreement that we have. 4 lives were lost at the hands of the defendant on August 13th for reasons that we will never fully understand, nor will we know. In the end, the Rusick family was much more merciful towards him than he was towards his wife, his daughters, and his unborn son. Prison for the remainder of his life is exactly where he belongs for murdering his entire family. Thank you.
I'm Cindy Watts.
Ron Watson.
Thank you. And I have authorized you to make a statement to the court as paternal grandparents of the children. And if you choose not to make a statement, but your designee, Ms. Powers, chooses to, she can do so as well. How would you like to proceed
Can
today?
I read that? I want you to start, but I would like to read
Who's
that.
going to be speaking today?
Your Honor, initially, they've asked me, and they're hoping that they have the strength to speak, but if they do not, they've written out their statements and asked me to finish for them. So
That would be fine. Who would like to go first?
if I could start, Your Honor. On behalf of the Watts, Your Honor, and to the community, we thank you for the opportunity and the recognition under the Victim Bill of Rights. We come today as the grandparents and the parent of the daughter and children whose life was taken in this case. We are not here to ask for leniency. We are not in any way condoning or tolerating the crime that has occurred and the pain that has been caused. We join in our daughter-in-law and grandchildren's family in saying this should never have happened. This is not condonable. This is something that we will never get over. We appreciate the consideration that everyone has paid, most especially the families that have lost everyone. We appreciate that they begged for Christopher's life. We agree and echo what they have said, that it is not his place to take anyone's life, nor would it be our place as a community to take his life. So we thank you for the opportunity and for every consideration and effort that's been put out. The prosecution in this case has in fact respected the Victim Bill of Rights. They took the time to explain that the information that my clients had at the time that they were interviewed was not correct. They were misinformed. They were searching for answers. They were not intending to cause any pain to anyone, and they appreciate that the prosecution answered their questions and gave them the time and the respect and the consideration so that they could tell this court and everyone in this community that the interview content was not their message, that they accept that their son has done this, that they accept that he chose to plead guilty, that he sought and requested their consent and agreement for a life sentence. They appreciate that he is given the opportunity to serve that life sentence. It is his responsibility, it is his sentence, and it is not enough to make up for what has done. We understand and we join the family in that we have questions. We don't know how such a thing could possibly happen, or that a man that was responsible for raising his children and protecting his wife would take the steps that he did, and that he would disregard their bodies and the love that he had for them and they had for him and everyone else, and take the gestures and put this community through the investigation and the discovery and the responsibility of bringing justice. We do not understand that. We do not think it was appropriate. We cannot begin to think that an explanation will ever justify it. My clients indicate that they understand that a full opportunity for a confession with all of the responsibility and accountability has not occurred. And they support the family and the request that that happen, if not today, at an appropriate time, in an appropriate manner, so that everyone can have peace, to understand to the best of their ability the details that they need and to have their questions answered. And by giving this opportunity of a life sentence, we hope that he embraces that moment. That had the death penalty been pursued, there would not have been an opportunity to be accountable and to give a full confession. And had the death penalty been sought, counsel would have fought for his life, the prosecutors would have been engaged in a multiple-year battle, the families would have been torn apart, this community would have had to subsidize it and endure it, and we have so much respect and gratefulness that that did not happen. We would strongly encourage Christopher Watts to give that full confession in the tone and in the timing that he thinks is appropriate with the guidance of his counsel. We feel that it would be appropriate and helpful to ease the pain and the suffering. But we also say we don't think that there's anything that he can say that will ever account for his behavior. There's nothing that can be done to cure the harm he has caused. And he has the responsibility to serve his sentence with dignity and with regard for everyone, and to spend every breath that he has left in an atonement for what he has done. Do you want to read it?
Yes. If I could just have you state your name for the record.
Cindy Watts.
Thank you.
My name is Cindy Watts. I am the grandmother of two beautiful granddaughters, Bella Marie, Celeste Catherine Watts. I am also the mother of Christopher Watts, who I will be directing most of my statement to. First, I'd like to begin by recognizing the absolute horror of this crime and acknowledging the devastating loss that both the Rusek family as well as our family have faced. Our families have been irreparably broken by the needless deaths of Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico. This is something we will never get over. We will always mourn the loss of our family, and in that we are united in our grief. I am still struggling to understand how and why this tragedy occurred. I may never be able to understand and accept it, but I pray for peace and healing for all of us. Now to my son Christopher, I have known you since the day you were born into this world. I have watched you grow from a quiet and sweet, curious child who Bella reminded me so much of, to a young man who worked hard in sports and later mechanics to achieve your goals. You are a good friend, brother, father, and son. We have loved you from the beginning, and we still love you now. This might be hard for some to understand, how I can sit here under these circumstances and tell you, although we are heartbroken, although we can't imagine what could have led us to this day, but we love you. Maybe you can't believe it either. As the Lord said in Jeremiah 3:31, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, I have continued my faithfulness to you. And you, as your mother, Chris, I have always loved you, and I still do. I hate what has happened. Your father and sister and I are struggling to understand why. But we will remain faithful as your family, just as God remains faithful because of his unconditional love for us all. We love you, and we forgive you, son.
Thank you.
Judge, if I could read Mr. Watts' statement.
Yes.
My name is Ronnie Watts, and I am the grandfather of Bella, Celeste, Nico Watts, and I am the father of Shannon. I am the father of Christopher Watts as well. And one of the most important things I've done in my life is to raise my children and to watch as they started their own families. I spent many years coaching Little League and talking to my son, taking him to the races, and sharing my love and knowledge of cars with him. He was just as involved with his girls. I believe he loves his girls. I know he does. This tragedy has impacted my family in so many ways. Beyond losing my precious grandchildren, our beloved daughter-in-law, we are forced to question everything. We still don't have all the answers, and I hope one day, Christopher, you can help us. Chris, I want to talk to you as a father and son. You are here today accepting responsibility, but I want to tell you this now. I love you. Nothing will ever change that. And I want you to find peace. And today is your first step. The Bible says if we confess our sins, God is faithful and just and will forgive us. Chris, I forgive you, and your sister forgives you, and we will never abandon you, and we love you. Dad. Judge, thank you for the opportunity to address the court.
I just turned the recorder on. Okay. So again, this room is recorded, and video and audio. We introduced ourselves in the lobbies and earlier, so we're just going to do that again real quick. My name is Kevin Kobach. I'm with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and we're assisting the Frederick Police Department with this case involving Chris Watts. And this is Tim Martinez, also an agent at CBI. Sir, if you just introduce yourself.
Dwayne Kessinger. I'm Nicole's father.
Dwayne, what's your birthday?
November 3rd, 1958.
And home address for you, sir?
8801 West 65th Avenue.
What city?
And that's Arvada, 8004.
And a cell phone or a home phone or where?
720-982-4547.
Thank you. And Nicole, can you just introduce yourself for the recording?
Nicole Kessinger. Do you need all the other stuff?
Yes, please.
I live at 12255 Claude Court, Unit 612, phone number 720-656-9605.
Claude Court, is that, I think we determined it was North Glen, right?
Yes.
You know your zip code?
80249.
Okay. Can you speak up just a little bit so the recorder, I know you're tired and you're stressed, and we won't be here any longer than we have to be. You've already had a conversation with people before. You came here on your own free will to talk to us. We picked you up at your request and brought you here. You can get up and leave at any time. You don't have to talk to us. If there's a question you don't want to answer, don't answer it. If you don't want to talk anymore, just tell me I want to leave. And I'm kind of in the way of the door, but you're not being interrogated as a criminal suspect. We're here to understand your relationship with Chris and what you know about Chris and his family, and events relating to Chris Watts. And do you know him as Chris or Christopher?
Either one.
Okay. So the phone number that you reached him on, can you tell me what that number was?
I think I deleted that out of my phone too. I just cut him out of my life. It's a 910 number. You guys have it.
We gave it to Mark yesterday.
Yeah, I probably have it, but just in case.
I don't have it
If
anymore.
I recited it to you, would you know it?
Just the first three numbers.
But you know it as a 910 number?
Yes, that's what I do know. I mean, that's what I got.
North Carolina or something.
North Carolina. Okay. So let's just start with a timeline of your getting to know Chris, how you guys met, where you met, all those things. And let's just run. And I'm not going to ask you specific questions unless I think it's necessary. I'll let you just tell me your story. I think it's a little bit easier that way. So I just want to know how you met him, where you met him, how long you guys were dating, and those kind of things initially.
Okay. I think I met him sometime in June, probably early June. It might have been May. It was just talking at work. It was pretty casual. And he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away either. And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool. And started telling me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's a dad. It was right around Father's Day too. So whenever that is in June.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not good with holidays.
He told me he had kids, and then it was Father's Day shortly after
Okay.
that. So that's what I do know. And I was like, I thought it was cute. And then he's telling me about him. He's pretty excited about him. And then he mentioned that he did have a significant other. And then he told me that those 2 were in the process of a separation.
Did he mention the children's name or his significant other's name?
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick, but to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know.
So in May and June, first of all, where do you work?
I work at Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. I'm contracted to Anadarko Petroleum Corporation
Okay, and you work out of an office setting where?
in Platteville, Colorado.
Okay. And Chris also works out of that location, per
Yes.
se?
Yes. He's in the field, but he comes into the office with his team.
So you work, what is your job responsibility?
I do health, safety, and environment.
Okay, so you work in the office and you take care of health safety for, Anadarko is an oil and gas company, right?
Yes.
So you're doing health safety in the office and Chris works in the field?
Yes.
As a, what kind of job does he do?
He's an operator, so I don't know like all of his daily duties, but he's a field operator, so he works with like the oil wells.
So he goes out and does work on those, whatever
Yes.
that work might be. But he comes into the office frequent?
In the
or-
mornings, his team meets in the mornings. They're not all in there every day. Some days some of them are in there, some days other ones are in there, but in the mornings typically from like 6:15 to probably 7, somewhere around there.
And is that where you met Chris?
Yes.
Okay. So can you just take us through kind of a little bit of the early part of how he courted you or you courted him? I don't know which one happened. How you guys got to know each other?
I guess we just started talking. He actually, so part of my job is to manage the gas monitors that we have. So Anadarko requires all of their field personnel to carry like gas monitor sensors for toxic gases, and it's my job to control the inventory, any issues, anything like that. And we were having some pretty serious like equipment issues, and we had numerous amounts of people coming in my office one day, and he happened to be one of them. And I'd seen him before, like they meet in the lunchroom, and that's where I go put my lunch in the fridge. So I'd seen him, but I didn't ever like talk to him. So that day we just started talking, and then every time I saw him in the hallway after that, and it was always hit or miss, like it wasn't an everyday thing, it was just when I saw him, we just started talking, and we just kind of had a lot in common and just hit it off, so we'd always have, pretty good conversations, and then, I don't know, one day he told me that he had kids and started talking about his kids, and then mentioned, yes, that I have a wife, but we're getting separated. I said, okay. And then
When do you think that was?
when he said all that,
So specifically when he told you he was getting separated from his wife, was that within the first couple of weeks that you knew him, or was that later on? You said you met him around May or June.
yeah, it was still in June.
Okay.
It would have been before Father's Day.
So had you guys ever gone out on any kind of
No.
date at that time? You just
No,
were
no.
conversing at work?
Yeah, that's all it was. And then, I don't know, we started hanging out. We hung out. We went to a park. Hung out at a park.
Let's go back real quick. So why did he tell you that he was getting a divorce? Did he ask you out at that time?
No, he didn't. I think he was probably interested in me. And so, he talked to me a couple times via his work phone, and I was like, no. Like, it was still very, like, friendly conversation. But then when I realized, like, this man is interested in me, I'm interested in him, this is personal, so we got away from the Anadarko thing, because I really don't want those guys affiliated with any of this. And
So you have a work phone that's specifically...
no, I have one phone that I do both on. He has 2 phones.
Okay, so he had your phone, the 720-656.
That's the only number that I roll with all the time.
Okay.
So he has 2 phones.
All right. One of those owned by Anadarko and
Yes,
one
sir.
personal.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what his Anadarko phone number was?
It's been so long, and I mean, I'm sure I could like look it up, but I tried to look it up for those guys yesterday, and I couldn't find it.
Okay. We can find it. That's okay. Just wondering if you knew it.
But at that point, we just like took it to his phone because I just felt it was like better that way. And we just continued to talk, and then
Let me go back to the park. Where's the park?
it's like down the street from my house. It's called East Lake Number 3.
Your house
Yes.
in North Glen?
Yes.
And that was in the June time frame.
or like the beginning of July. It was like right around my birthday. It's like so sometime at the very end of June or the beginning of July.
Okay. And that's the first meeting you had outside of work?
Yeah.
Basic conversation for a first date?
I mean, we kept it pretty simple, I guess, I don't even remember everything we talked about. We
Sure.
were there for a few hours. But
Understand so if I ask about conversation, what I'm looking for, was he talking about his family during any of these meetings? Those are the kind of, I understand, whatever you guys were talking about, relationship, your life, your interests, those things, we don't need to know that. What I'm interested in is knowing is when he brings up his children, when he brings up his wife, when he brings up financial information, when he brings up his home, when he brings up anything that may have been, and it's been a few days, so you've had a chance to reflect on some articles that you may have read, and unfortunately, that you're in a situation where somebody has been murdered. And that information, when you look backwards in your memory with the conversations with Chris, anything that he might have said that would be relative to that, and I'm not just, even if one day he was mad and he said, I want to do this or do that, anything like that, if he ever made any kind of statements that you were like, whoa, that was weird, or why would he say that, or why did he mention that? Do you understand what I'm looking for?
No, I completely understand. I just feel like some of this happened so long ago that I can't tell you like the exact words of the exact conversation at the exact time and place, because it's like we had a lot of conversations. I mean, we talked every single day. So it's like I'm trying to help you guys with the stuff like the stuff that's more current. I can give you guys a lot more like detail and exact times. But when you're asking me about something that happened 6 weeks ago and exactly what was said, it's like, I mean, I'm sure I can give you a general idea, but to be honest with you, like to pinpoint exact words, it's not going to happen.
I'm not looking for exact words, just more, let's say 6 weeks ago he said something that triggered with you last night. That's what I'd be looking for. Or something 4 weeks ago. And if you don't remember where it was or the specific words, that doesn't matter. Just he said something that was off the wall, or he said this or he said that has caused you a moment to pause and you go, wow, I wonder why he said that, now knowing what you know today. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
I completely understand. And to be honest with you, I mean, there were several discussions that we had about his current relationship and where it had gone and what it had caused. And he talked about his kids from time to time. But the thing is he was never hostile. It was never anything aggressive. Like even when he spoke of his wife and the fact that they were separating, it was never like ill. It was still very kind. It was just like, this is not working, and would explain why, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary or anything that I think would scare me. And to this day, even after everything that I found out, I still look back at that and I don't see any red lights with the way that he spoke of his family.
Okay. Can you just describe his overall demeanor over the 8, 10, 12 weeks that you guys knew each other?
It wasn't that long. It was like 6 weeks that we were hanging out. Well, I guess we knew each other longer.
Okay, but you met him in the office, and just his overall persona, who was he aggressive? Was he mellow? Was he calm? Was he outspoken? Who was Chris?
I think he's an introvert. I would consider him to be like a pretty, I don't want to say he's a very reserved individual. I think he's probably more reserved around other people. I think he emphasized to me that one of the reasons that he really enjoyed talking to me is because he felt like he could get out of his shell. He said around most people he just like didn't really feel the need to like talk and converse, and it wasn't just in his home life, just in general. It wasn't something where he's an introvert. And he said with me, it made him feel like he could really just start talking about things that excited him. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that we had things in common. So with me, I think he was a little bit more outgoing, but even then, I would still consider him to be an introvert. I mean, not on the extreme end. If an introvert went to like 1 to 10, I'd put him at like a 4 or 5. so on the lighter side of introversion.
Pretty even keeled.
Yes, like really relaxed, like all the time. He was never really like worked up about anything, just
Mellow,
chill,
easygoing guy.
very much.
Okay. And he was that way with you. Did he ever have any kind of? Did you guys ever have arguments? I mean,
No.
pretty short relationship. No arguments during that time.
No.
Did he ever lose his temper at any time?
Never.
You guys never had a yelling match.
No.
So you never saw him upset or mad.
No. And there was a couple times that we had some disagreements on things that as we like further progressed into this story, you know, but it was never like I am very calm when I talk to people. It's like extremely rational when I handle situations that there's a disagreement in, and he always was the exact same way. Like always. Like I never stressed anything. I think one thing that actually kind of drew me to him was the fact that he was like very open with communicating with me if there were any like differences on how we saw things or just like open-minded about things. It was actually I personally thought it was kind of unique because usually most of the men that I've ever met are typically very closed off, and I didn't get that from him at all. But it was always like kind, very kind.
So no sense that this guy had a temper or
Not at
was aggressive, or he never lost his mind and yelled and said crazy stuff or anything like that. Okay.
No.
So can we just kind of go back to your relationship? You say you guys had a lot in common. What was that?
Oh, I mean, like, we're both really into fitness. I think that's important. It's a lifestyle. Both of us ate pretty healthy, so I think that was important as well. He's like a total gearhead. He likes cars a lot, and I don't know nearly as much about them, but it's always been something that I've been pretty interested in, so we definitely talk about stuff like that. And I guess he was always willing to like learn new stuff, and vice versa. Like I like to travel a lot, and it's not something that he's done a lot, but he seemed like really interested in what I had to share with him, and vice versa. So even if it wasn't something that we originally had in common together, it was just like, hey, I respect what you have to say, and vice versa.
So you guys just yin and yang. You got along pretty well.
Very well.
And no time, he never gave you any indication that
None.
that he was having issues. So during your guys' dating time, did you guys spend most of the time at your place?
Always.
Okay, always at your place.
Or we'd go out, but I told Mark yesterday, he asked me if I went over there, and I told him about one time that I went over to that house. I've been to that house twice, but it was very, very brief, and it was not like an extended stay. I did not feel comfortable there, or like, I just didn't want to be there. It's not my life. Like, that is somebody else's life and somebody else's existence, and I respect that. That's their space. And so I used to tell him, well, come to my house because this is our space. This is my space. And so for me, out of respect just for, like, whatever situation he had going on and the fact that it's not my home, I felt that it was better to be in my place. And I live alone. I don't have any roommates or anything, so it's pretty easy to do that.
So during June and July, were you aware that his family was not his? Did you meet his children?
Nope.
During June and July.
And he didn't ask me to.
Okay.
I mean, not that I didn't want to ever. It was just not now. It's like you're not finalized with your separation, and not only that, we've barely been dating. Like, you can't introduce kids to somebody new in a situation like that. That's something that takes time. I mean, would I have liked to have met them? Of course. That would have been a great honor for me to have somebody introduce their children into my life, but not then. It was something that it was like, okay, well, let's see where we're at in 6 months. Let's see where we're at in a year. And if we're still doing this and you and me are still, happy with where we're at, and you think that this is something that is going to be long-term and is worth bringing your children into the picture, then yes, I would love to meet them. But it's like, not right now. You are still in this situation where you're not even completely out of it, and I'm getting in it, and that's not fair for them. And that was kind of the policy that I had with him, it was just like, yes, but not yet.
So did he ask to introduce you to his children?
Not at that time.
Okay.
I think both him and I were on the same page of eventually, if things went as they should in
I understand you guys' relationship is very new and young.
Yeah.
So although it was short, just laying everything out helps us understand what actually was going on with him. And
Yep.
I might ask you a question and you're going, why the heck would he ask me that? Probably because I have information that I'm not willing to share with you, and I'll tell you that right now. I'm not going to tell you. Some questions I'm going to ask you, and you go, what the heck? I won't share some information with you. Just, it protects you, it protects our investigation. So if it seems weird, there's a reason I'm asking it,
That's
and
fine.
it's usually relative to what I know. So don't take offense to it. Again, it's just part of what we need to know.
Understood.
So just, you went to his house on 2 occasions.
Yes.
Was that recent?
No, that was like pretty early into it, and I did not like it and did not want to go back.
Do you recall where the house was?
Yeah, it's like right off the highway in Frederick.
Okay. And you know the streets?
I mean, I'm sure I could figure it out again if I like really had to. Like off the top of my head, no.
Do you know the street name?
No.
Okay.
I would have to like drive around in there to get there.
Okay. Did it look like anybody else lived at that house at that
Oh,
time?
definitely.
Okay.
I mean,
So is that what freaked you out?
I mean, he told me that he was living in the basement, and he said, we're separated, but we're not divorced, and we're going to get ready to sell the house. And that was the impression that I was under. And I was under the impression that they were taking everything pretty slow with this, with like getting ready to sell the house. I mean, those are big things. So that's what I was informed. And I mean, if you think about it, this whole thing happened in a 6-week stretch. Like, that's not really that much of a time frame. So in that sense, like, it's believable to me. Yes, I went to the house, and the first time I was there, I hung out in their like front living room. I just sat on the floor, and it was on the 4th of July. It was the morning of the 4th, and I was helping him to set up my MyFitnessPal app and like track his food, his calories and stuff, because he does pretty good with the working out and stuff. And he asked me, he's like, can you help me just like get this dialed in? It's like, yeah, I can do that. So that he invited me up to the house, and I was already kind of hesitant to do it because I was like, there are other people that live here, and I just felt like it was an invasion of space. And so I went up there, and we just stayed in that front room, and I helped him out with that, and got him all set up with that. And then, he asked me if I wanted lunch, and he grilled chicken and carrots. And then that's all he had. And I was like, okay, so we ate, and then I left. And then there was another day about, I can give you the date-ish. Let me look at a calendar. I think it was the weekend after my birthday.
Just a thing on the courtesy for the phone for, what was that guy's name, Don?
This gentleman?
Oh.
Thornton PD. I just met him today. Do you want to do the phone today?
I forgot about that.
For TPD.
It's not for them. They're doing it for us.
Yes.
We don't have the equipment with us to do it, and I asked them to do it for us. They're not involved in this investigation. He would just be a computer person. He would not be looking at any of this stuff. That would fall to myself. So keep that in mind. He's not involved in this investigation. Thornton PD has nothing to do with this, other than letting us use their facility and helping us with some electronic download. He's not going to look at your phone right now. He's going to put it on a disc, and they're going to give it to me.
Gotcha. I don't know, what do you think? I really want to help you guys. I do. I feel like this whole thing is just going to be crazy regardless of whether I give you my phone or not. I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. Like, it's happening. It's going to happen.
Well, the text
Media's just
reiterate what
gonna-
you've been saying all along, so it's not like...
Well, they do. That's the other thing, too. I mean, that's kind of a good backup. Yeah, I'll give
I
it
think
to 'em.
you hit the nail right on the head. There's reasons why we want everything. It validates things that we know. I'm not going to come out and tell you that if you tell me something today, we'll validate it with your text messages, whether it's the ones we have now
I
or the
will-
ones you're going to give us.
I'll give
Certainly.
it to 'em. If you want to go get him.
I want you to read this, is what I want you to do before you decide that, okay?
So the second time I went to that house, I'm not sure what day it was, but it was the weekend of the 14th.
Of August?
July. I don't know if it was the 14th or the 15th. One of those 2 days. But we had went out, and we stopped there just real quick on the way back. And we were there not very long, but that time I saw a picture of his wife and one of his kids. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wow, she's so beautiful. And I, like, took a step back, and I was just like, this man has a gorgeous house. He has beautiful babies. He has a beautiful wife. He has an awesome job. Like, why would he want to leave this? And I remember talking to him about it, and that was the first time that I tried to actually say, what do you think about not separating from your wife? Like, what if you really try to work on this? And he had expressed to me that we've tried to work on this, and it's not working, so that is why we're separating. And I spent some time, like, just, you know, kind of, because it almost made me feel bad, where I was, like, to the point where I'm engaging in a relationship with a man who, the way he described it, is in a contractual agreement, but was not in, like, an emotional relationship with somebody. And for me, the way I would have preferred to do this is to have waited till that contractual agreement was also done, and he was done. And he could have approached me and said, I'm just had a divorce, you know, maybe we could take this slow, what do you think? But instead it was, oh, we're separated and we're working on a divorce. And that is the part that I feel bad about, because I should have waited on that, and I didn't. And, you know, I was just like, well, they're already there. So, you know, but then being in a house, I was just like, why? Fix this. Find a way to fix this. Make it work, you know? And I was like trying to push him to do it, and he seemed pretty reluctant to do it. He didn't want to. And, I don't know, we were still seeing each other fairly frequently, but I kind of like backed away so we weren't hanging out quite as much, and we were still close, but it was just like I really wanted him to try. Like, I wanted to know that he tried and it didn't work, and then he moved on, not that, you know, they both kind of tried and then he got himself into a situation with somebody else. And I don't know, I just thought he had a beautiful life going on, and he could have made it work. That was the way I looked at it from the outside.
So is this something you reflected on since this event, or was this you?
No, I was doing it then. Like,
you said this doesn't look right. He's kind of, I don't want to be responsible for breaking up a marriage, especially with 2 children. Is that kind of the gist I'm getting here?
I didn't think it didn't look right. I mean, I think he was legitimately sleeping in the basement, and I didn't think that these two were, I mean, I think it was like, hey, we're both stuck in this house for now. We got to sell this. In the meantime, you live here, I live here. We sleep in different rooms, take care of the kids. That's just like kind of how I took that. And no, I didn't think it didn't look right. I just thought it just seemed like he had so much going on, and it was just beautiful, that I was like, why don't you just try this out, you know, and see if you can fix it. And he'd always be like, well, what about us? What about us? I'm like, don't worry about us. Like, that is more important. Like, try to see if you can, like, salvage whatever it is that you have going on with your wife. And you know, I always got the impression that he was a great father to his kids, like, always. And so, you know, I was like, and be the dad that you want to be. I was like, and see if you can make it work. And he just, like, we kind of talked about it off and on for, like, a few weeks, and I was just kind of like, I don't know. Like, I think I was kind of, like, cold feeting about it after I went over his house. And so this was, like, pretty early on. And then he told me that, he went to North Carolina. And he was like, I'm going to talk to her when I'm in North Carolina and see if I can get her to do this, to, like, try to, like, rekindle the flame.
Okay, so try to salvage his relationship as you've been asking him
Yes,
to do.
And then if he
When
decided,
did he go to North Carolina?
I think it was, like, the last week of July, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So, I mean, this was, like, a couple weeks that I was just kind of, like, trying to push him to do that.
Let's pause at North Carolina, and we'll come back to that real quick. I want you to read this. If you don't understand what it means, then ask me the question. But basically what it says is you have the right not to let me look at your phone. I'm asking to look at your phone for the purposes we previously discussed, for the text messages and your phone log, and unfortunately the photos that are attached therein too. That information is only relative to this investigation. I'm not looking at anything else except for the conversations between you and Chris Watts, and the phone data between you and Chris Watts for phone calls, for times and dates for those phone calls. And then the content of the text messages that are there. And we'll write that specifically down here. Understand
I
that.
just don't want anybody to get some of those texts. Like, they have nothing to do with this case, and they're just like...
Between you and Chris?
Yes, they're just...
So just tell me what you're...
They're just kind of raunchy.
Okay,
Like, I
well,
don't need anybody...
everybody's
I don't
an adult.
Need that posted, like,
We're not going to
somewhere.
Post it.
I don't want the newspapers to get that. That's all I want.
The
I just
only
need
ones
them
that
to
we would
not
be
get
looking
that.
for, again, is the same kind of questions we're getting to here, is things about his children, things about
Understood.
his wife, the
Understood.
questioning of, did he ever, has he ever said something to you that might indicate, maybe not then, but now, that there was something like this in his mind? Or you know what we're looking for. I don't need to come out and tell you that. I understand the embarrassment of particular photos or potential sexual types of conversations you may have had with Chris. It's not relative to the investigation. We don't care. Okay, you're an adult. I'm an adult. Everybody in this room, even your dad, and I give it to you for saying that stuff in front of your dad, because I'm not sure many women could do that. So that's not what we're after. We're after the information that corroborates things that you've told us, and also that corroborates or may tend to prove that things that Chris told us were a lie. You understand that? And that's maybe going a little bit far. I usually won't tell people that, but because of your reservations, that's what I'm looking for. If I can disprove something he's told me by a phone records don't lie. People do. Okay? So if I can disprove something that may be important, that's what I need it for. I'm not saying I can. Has it happened before? Absolutely. Is it critical in cases that I've worked in the past? Yes. So that's why I want it. Okay? Again, you don't have to give it to me. You can tell me, I don't want you to have it. Go get a warrant. I'm not even going to tell you if I go get a warrant, try to get a warrant right now. I'm just asking for you to consent. And again, we can write right here what you're willing to give me, which is the text messages and the phone log. And unfortunately, again, the attachments on some of those text messages. And I'll write it on there, and then you'll just sign it. Okay? Do you understand the questions there? Do you have questions about any of the things that it says? You understand you don't have to do this. You're doing it of your own free will. And I know you're tired, so if you want to let your dad read it too.
He will. Thank you.
That's a good idea.
Can you fill it out before I sign it?
Yep. And just, you read it, and if you have any questions, then we'll put on there what we're after.
I'm so hungry.
You should have told me. I would have got you some food. I got food in my car.
It's not staying down. It's just coming
She hadn't been
back up.
feeling good, not because of any, just
Like, I got sick prior to this
Jim.
whole thing happening, and then I think all of this compounding with the
Stress.
fact that I'm sick, it's just not good. I've not really been eating or sleeping much at all.
yeah. I'm with you. We definitely need to accelerate the case, because the more it takes, the less sure that they are of situations. But on the other end, I think if you do just that only,
You tell me what you're willing to provide to me, and we'll
is
write
that
it
good
on.
enough?
I just want, like, our text conversation, and then, I guess, our phone call records.
So I'm going to put.
So the time and date of the phone call records, and then our text message.
Could we get photos of him?
Huh?
Could we get photos of him?
Off of
Would you
that?
mind if we got his photos that he sent to you?
Oh, well, there'll be in that text message thing.
So all his photos were sent. There was no apps or anything else used
No,
that you
no,
guys
no,
were
no,
sending.
no,
It was
no.
all just text messages.
Yeah,
Okay. So it'd be an attachment to a text that he sent you.
pretty much.
But
Everything is in the text and the phone call records.
So
Like, all of it.
because we don't have it on tape, we discussed prior to turning the tape on Tuesday, which would have been the 14th of August. You had read some newspaper articles on the 13th and the 14th that regarded this case. You had also had a conversation with Chris at some point during the day on Monday. And on Tuesday, because of what you found, specifically what you said was, and I don't let me put words in your mouth, but you found out that his wife was pregnant.
Yes.
And you did not know that prior. And you found that out via the newspaper articles, and that caused you concern.
Well, I just realized that he was lying to me, and I was like, well, if you can lie to me about this, what else are you lying to me about? And it made me realize that maybe his wife was in danger at that point, and it was day 2 too, and she still wasn't home.
What did that cause you to do with your phone, though?
Oh, what, when I deleted those? I was just kind of grossed out by him, to be honest with you. I was just like, I don't know what's going on right now, but you just lied to me, and I don't want to see this come over my phone anymore. So I removed it.
So you already said, but you removed text messages?
I deleted all of his stuff because he lied to me. I mean, that's what it was. It was the hurt that made me delete it, and then it was the lie that made me start questioning everything else he'd been telling me for the last few days.
And that's when you decided to come forward?
Yes.
Okay. So just for context,
yes.
When people delete stuff off phones, usually we go, hold on a second.
No. It wasn't malicious at all. It wasn't malicious at all. He lied to me. It just hurt. Like, I had never felt like he'd ever lied to me before. And it was a big lie. I mean, telling somebody that you're in the midst of a divorce and then you have a wife that has a 15-week-old baby on the way is a huge, huge thing. And I was very taken back, and it was hurt. And so at that point, I deleted it. I had a few more quick things to say to him, and then I just got rid of him. That's literally what I did. I just cut him out of my life. It would have honestly been like a bad breakup kind of thing. Like, if none of this other stuff would have happened, that's what it would have been. That would have been the end of it.
The information was not destroyed because there was anything in there that would be harmful to you or potentially to Chris at this point, but harmful to you in particular. That's not why you did it.
No.
You did it out of, excuse my language, this guy's an asshole, so I'm getting rid of him, and I'm getting this stuff off my phone.
That was like me kicking him out of my life.
Okay.
And then, like I said, and then realizing that he lied, that was when I was like, okay, maybe his family is in danger, and they're not coming back, and they're not staying with a friend.
Yeah, when did I go over there? Tuesday morning?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday.
I called you Wednesday morning.
That's when we started discussing you guys need to get everything that it just...
You can understand the importance of...
Oh, no question. We were...
Like I said, people lie, phone records don't, and they really help specifically establish dates and times.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a very good grip on that in this case already, but there may be a time when we go, we need to know something else, and then we would have it. We don't want to lose it, and that's really what it is for us, is if we lose information that later on we go, man, I wish we would have got that. And we may never even use these. We may never even look at them. But if we have it now, then we don't worry about losing it. So I appreciate you being cooperative and giving it to us.
Yeah.
So the first thing I wrote was text messages between Chris Watts and attachments. Okay? So, because we're talking about the photographs, unfortunately, that cause you much disdain. And then I am going to put phone log for calls between yourself and Chris Watts. Your phone number is 720
656 9605.
And this right now is located we're at the Thornton Police Department. It's going to be moved to so this is kind of, doesn't make sense, but we're here. It's going to be moved to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. He's going to download it here, but I'm going to take it with me, just so you know. It's not staying here.
Okay.
They're not going to retain any of this. This comes with me. Okay?
Is there anything else you want on there? I think that's about...
That's it. I mean, I don't have social media. I don't really have anything else you guys can pull.
Okay.
Is there anything else you know of that could help us with this that is not on this sheet?
As far as like data,
That's on your phone?
no. I mean, everything we did was like text and talk, pretty much. I mean, and like I said, any pictures that I had, like even if you were to restore all my regular photos, there's so many pictures in there, and you wouldn't even know which ones were for him and which ones weren't. But any picture that I wanted to send to him, I sent via text. So if you guys go through the text and the attachments, you will have everything that wasn't said verbally and was done via text. But I think that's it. Like I don't have anything else. As far as like no Facebook, no Instagram, no Twitter, no LinkedIn, like none of it. So there was never any of that kind of correspondence. So I think that should probably cover everything you guys will need.
Is there any particular messages that would help me so I don't have to look at, because whatever's on your phone, I don't know how long we're going to get back to, but let's say is there a particular date or time or message that stands out to you that would be relative to specifically to the investigation into this case that might assist me in understanding why something like this could have occurred?
I'm still in shock that this whole thing happened.
I can imagine.
That's why I gave him the benefit of the doubt for the first day, because I was just like, no way. Like, I didn't even think about that. I mean, murder was not on the top of my mind when somebody doesn't come home for an evening, especially if they've just, like, had some sort of, like, heated conversation. It's like, okay, you guys are separating, you have a heated conversation, you leave for a night. Like, I didn't even think this guy killed his wife. I mean, that like, murder is on something on the top of my mind when I call one of my friends for 3 or 4 hours and she doesn't answer the phone. Like, that doesn't even process to me as, like, a real thing that is a possibility at that point. And so that's why I gave it a day, and then the second day I was talking to him, he was just, like, a hot mess, I could tell. And then with, like, the way he was talking to me, and then that's kind of when I cut him off and I stopped talking to him. And then...
So remember what you just said, and we're going to get to that because that's probably a very important conversation.
So if you want to know days, I would probably honestly just start at like Sunday and work your way forward. I mean, all the rest of that stuff, it's just like the small talk of like, hey, this, you know? I mean...
And your relationship building through the 6
Yeah,
weeks.
I mean, like, and if you go like maybe like a week further back, like there's times like I was trying to help him find an apartment, like just for him, not for me, but for him and his kids. To get set up, and like there's times where I'm like, well, where's your wife moving to? Like, how close is she gonna be to you? You should be within like 30 minutes of your kids, so they're close, and like you want to be close to their school and close to your gym, and like what's your price range? Like, I was helping him get all of this stuff set up, and it was like in a very decent manner. And I don't know if all of that is in text. Some of it's probably on the phone. Like, at this point, I've talked to him so much that I don't even know which parts are like verbalized and which parts are texted at this point, but we can figure it out.
Okay. You see what I wrote? Text messages between Chris Watts and attachments, and then the phone logs for calls between your phone number and Chris Watts.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two things that we'll ask to be extracted from your phone. So if you're okay with that.
Why does it say as removed cell phone data? Isn't that this?
That is that, and that's what he's going to remove, and then that officer is going to fill that out.
Gotcha. What is the date? I don't even know what
Today is the 16th.
You want to add anything to this?
If you give us your phone, we'll get him started.
We want to give you everything, but we also want to be protected in doing so. Is more of the was more of the thing. It's just.
And when he's done, we'll give you a copy.
Is there a
of this.
password or anything? Like, will it lock up after a period of time?
Right here.
That's his notes. And
make sure there's nothing written on the back.
There's not. I checked before I wrote it off.
Let's go back to North Carolina.
Okay.
He went to North Carolina and he was trying to rehab his marriage with his wife.
He said.
Do you know her name at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay saying her name?
It's Shanann.
All right. And do you know the children's name?
Yes, it's Bella and Celeste.
Okay. Cece. She went by. They called her Cece.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So he went to, were they in North Carolina
They were already there.
If you want something.
I don't know if my stomach will do that. Yeah, they were already out there. He just flew out there to meet up.
Do you know why they were there?
They're all from there.
Okay, so they were there
They
for...
were visiting her family for the most part until he got there. And then they still were mostly visiting her family.
Okay. Hey, do you know how long they had been there?
A while. Like weeks.
All right. And he flew out to join his family there?
Yep.
Did you know specifically where he flew to?
What, airport?
No. What city?
No, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm sure if I thought real hard, maybe I could think about it, but I mean, come up with it. No, I don't know.
All right. So he goes there. You said it was like the last week of July?
I think so. I think it was like one of the last days of July. I'm almost positive. I think it was a weekday.
Okay.
Yeah, he flew out there, and I thought I had like convinced him to like try to make peace with her, and I was like, if you guys work on this, like, I'm out, because what's the point? Like, I'm not trying to be with somebody that's in another relationship, which I know that sounds silly given the whole relationship that we had in the first place, but I really was under the impression that they were separating. I mean, it was like reiterated to me so many times that that's what I thought it was. And it made sense to me too, because like he could pretty much call me whenever he wanted. Like I was the one that would tell him like, hey, when your kids are awake, you need to spend time with your kids. Like do that. And then after they go to bed, like if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. But it was never like this super, super restricted thing. Like sometimes, like right after work, if I was like still talking to him, I get kind of bummed out, and I tell him just like, oh, it's frustrating sometimes, like having to like wait. But at the same time, I was never like, this is horrible, or it was always like I understood why. But then once his kids were asleep, he never like had any. It was like he could do what he wanted. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
He was in his basement and she's upstairs and they're not speaking. So it kind of made sense. It wasn't like.
And you guys are
sneaky
just
at night.
texting and...
Or talking or whatever,
Right.
I mean, and it was like I said, it was at certain times, but that time, and originally it wasn't, but it was me that put that time frame on there because I thought he should hang out with his kids.
Those 2 times you were at his house, did you see any evidence of that? Him living in the basement? Did he ever show you that area or anything?
I went down there and saw his little workout equipment, and there's a bed down there all set up, and the basement was all clean and organized and stuff, so, like a decent bed set up, so it made sense to me, like, hey, this is what's happening down here. So I saw it.
Even though his family was in North Carolina for multiple weeks, it appeared that he was still living in the basement.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he told me sometimes he would like go upstairs and sleep if like he was home alone, because I know she'd like go on business trips and stuff. But he's like, I don't like that bed anyway, so he didn't really like sleep up there. I was like, okay. Even when it was just him, so
Okay.
that was the impression that I got. I don't know what you're talking about. North Carolina.
Go back to North Carolina.
So North Carolina. So he still made very frequent communication with me when he was out there, and at one point he told me that they sat down and they talked about it, and he told her that he wanted to either fix things or like to try to fix things, and if she didn't want to fix them, then they needed to like move forward with the separation and like actually file for a divorce at this point was the impression that I got from this, and was what he told me. And so he said that she was like pretty receptive to just not trying. He was like, she seemed like she just wants me to go. He's like, when she has her mind made up, she has her mind made up, and that's what she wants. And he's like, she doesn't want to try anymore. And he's like, and neither do I really. And he was like, it's done. And he's like, and then the next day, I don't even know what days these were, sometime when he was out there, he told me, we're putting the house up for sale as soon as we get back. And I was like, well, that was quick. And he was like, it's her, she's ready to go. And I was like, okay. And so I left it at that. And then he got back, and I started asking him, like, what are you going to do? Because the Colorado housing market is fire, and you guys are going to sell this house, like, real fast. And I'm like, you need to start looking for a new place to live. And I'm like, where do you want to live? And I was really trying to help him out. I'm like, do you want to get a house? Do you want 3 bedrooms so you have one and each of your girls have one? I'm like, do you want to, you know, like, do an apartment? Like, what do you want? You know, where do you want to live? Because he's in Frederick, but that whole area over there is just like a bunch of small towns, and you can kind of just pick and choose. Everything's kind of, you know, and so he told me, well, I like Brighton, and I was like, okay. And then he told me he wanted a 2-bedroom apartment, and he said he wanted 1 room for him and the other room for his 2 girls. And I thought it was kind of cute. Like, I remember telling him, I was like, yeah, me and my sister had bunk beds, like, at my dad's house. And I was like, when we were little girls, and me and my sister the same age apart as him and as his 2 daughters, you know. So I told him, I was like, they're going to love it. I was like, they might be, like, stuck in one room together. I was like, but they'll become, like, best buddies. And it was really exciting. Like, I liked helping him, and I just wanted him to, like, I don't know. This is what he told me he wanted. So I was like, well, I will help you do the research. But another thing that I really took care of was to be like, where is she moving to? I was never like, you know what, screw your wife, try to get full custody. None of that bullshit. It was always just like, you know, I'd ask him, I'm like, well, what kind of custody are you guys going to have? Because he at work, they're about to switch his schedule. So right now he's like a Monday through Friday, and they're about to switch these guys to 8 days on, 6 days off.
That's tough.
That's awesome. And I was asking him, I was like, are you going to have your kids, like, on that set of days off? I was like, because that would work perfect, like 1 week on, 1 week off. And I was just like, you know, we just talk about it. And I'm like, what is your plan? And he's like, we haven't figured out exactly what we're going to do about the kids yet. But he told me, he's like, Colorado's a 50-50 state, and she's okay with everything 50-50. Like, he said that she was, like, on board with this because she wanted it too. Like, she was checked out of this relationship. So that was, like, how he made this sound. That it was, like, a very, like, kosher, we're done kind of thing.
Did you ever give him, like, books or articles or anything to read about saving your marriage? Did you ever provide anything to him like that?
About saving his marriage?
Yeah, like how to recover a marriage or how to save your marriage. Or, you know, there's all sorts of publications and books out there.
No, but I did tell him, and I don't know if I did this through text or phone. That will be something you guys will, I'm sure, figure out. But I told him a few times, like, I think that you should take the time to read some articles about what separation does to kids. You know, and I told him, I said, when my parents separated, we were literally like 3 and 5. We were almost the exact same age as these little girls. And I told him, I said, you know, I was so young when it happened that it didn't really have like a big negative effect on me because I was so small that I didn't really process it too well. I was like, but I do have cousins that their parents got divorced when they were like 10, 11, and I think that it hit them a little harder. You know, and he's like, oh, they'll be fine, you know, and I told him, I was like, even though they're small and you think that they'll be fine, I was like, I think you guys should just read about it just so that you guys are prepared in case, you know, one of these two starts having a hard time with the fact that you guys aren't in the same house anymore, you know, and I would tell him, I was like, you know, there's pros and cons to it, like, because he was, like, getting ready to do it, and it would be like, you know, it's kind of cool having 2 Christmases, and, you know, like, your parents get to go, you know, be happy doing whatever it is they want to do with their lives, and they don't have to be in a situation that's probably not good for the kids because it's not good for those two, you know, but at the same time, it was like, just read. Like, that's what I always used to tell him. I'd always tell him to, like, I tell people to read about everything. Reading is so good for you.
So he, at this time, is telling you that, yeah, I am the guy trying to save the marriage and she doesn't want it.
That's what he told me. So, and and then he was like, she doesn't want it, so I'm not going to do it. And then it was like, we're filing for divorce, we're selling the house, and this was like all as soon as they were coming back from North Carolina, like boom, 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 boom.
Would you recall when he gets back from North Carolina?
No, I don't even know how long he was out there. I know it was like less than 2 weeks and more than 1.
Okay.
I don't remember.
So he comes back early August, would that be fair?
Oh yeah, it was definitely like in the first 2 weeks somewhere.
All right.
Probably the second week of August at some point in that. I don't remember when.
Does his wife come back with him at that time? Or
yeah, they all came back.
They all come back at the same time?
They all came back. And then, yeah, so he continues to just, tell me that this is like what he wants. And so I took the time, and you will see that in the text too, where I I found this apartment. It was perfect. It was so cute. I was like, it's in your price range. It's like 6 miles from the gym. It's 23 miles from work. I'm like, it's super close to Frederick. It's going to be by your kid's school. Like, this is the spot, and I told him, I was like, I'll keep looking for more places. And he's like, well, there's some that I want to go see too. And he actually had me thinking that he was going to go look at these places this week. Before all
Okay,
this.
so this is fairly recent then, if we're
this
talking.
just happened, like in the last.
He's going to go
couple
look at apartments.
He wanted me to go
during,
with him.
When you say this week, are you saying
Like this
Monday
this
was the 13th?
Like this week.
Okay.
Yeah, so I told him, I was like, well, pick out a few spots, and if you want me to come with you, I'll go look at them. But you know.
You said earlier that he had never, or that the apartment wasn't for you and him. It was just for him and his children.
Oh yes.
It was. You had no intentions of moving in with him.
No, I have my own spot. I still have a lease there till July, and even then, like, he never asked me to move in with him,
Okay.
and I never tried to move in with him. I mean, I told him. I really tried to take everything with this whole situation very slow. The only part that I screwed up on was the fact that he wasn't completely separated from her when him and I decided to spend time with each other. That is where I screwed up. But other than that, everything else, it was always like, you build your life, I'm going to build my life, we will intertwine them, but I am not ready to, do this. And he respected that. And I even said that, and I don't know, that might be in the text, but said that too, where it's like, Chris, you need space. You're just getting out of a divorce. Personally, I think jumping into a new relationship is a little quick. It's like, I was in a relationship earlier this year, and I think this is also a little quick. And I'm like, so why don't we take our time? And I'm like, if you guys end up doing a week on, a week off with your kids, I'm like, the week you have your kids, be with your children. And the week that you don't, I'm like, I don't even want to see you every day. I'm like, I think we should spend a few days of that together. I'm like, because I like my space, and I think you need your space. I think you need your space to develop your identity again and get it back, because I think he's just been so wrapped up in this whole thing that he's got in his own life and his life that he doesn't remember probably what it's like to be single or have time where it's just him.
Sure.
And so I was just embrace that. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I really try to take it smart with all that. And it was the same thing with his kids. I was just and we talk about things every once in a while where I'd be like, hey, if I ever meet, because I have a lot of house plants. It's a good example. So I have a lot of house plants, and I told him, I was like, one day if I ever meet your kids, I was like, I'm going to show these girls how to paint pottery and plants. I was like, I think they would love to see something grow that they built. I think it would be really, really cute. And little stuff like that, but it wasn't very frequent. It wasn't, hey, we should get married, and hey, we should have babies, and hey, I want to live with you, and hey, I need to meet your children now, and let's cut the mom out. It was never like that.
And there was never any conversation about, we can't do this with her around, we can't do this with the kids around. No. He never said that, you never said that.
No.
So the way you guys were trying to make this work was just, slowly trying to come together because of his current situation, and you, by your own account,
mine.
You're just a independent person. It sounds like pretty much,
yeah.
And but through text message or through conversation, he never said, "Hey, this isn't going to be financially able. I'm not going to be financially able to do this," or "This isn't a good thing. I got these kids." None of those conversations ever came up.
No. He told me he had a budget restriction. So for his apartment, and I'm pretty sure this is in the text, and this will probably be in the last couple weeks, he told me $1,100 to $1,400 when I was asking him. Because I told him I'd help him do homework. I was like, you do some homework, I'll do some homework, we'll knock this out, because if you guys are for real putting the house up, you got to figure it out. And so that was his budget. And I remember asking him, I was like, you sure you don't want to just get a house? And he's like, I never thought about a house. I'm like, yeah, you can rent houses, man. It's a thing. And he's just like, I don't know if I can afford that. And I was like, okay. And I knew that those two had been through some financial trouble. I definitely found out a lot more about that situation in the newspaper recently.
Okay, so prior to the newspaper, how did you know he was in financial difficulty?
Because when I went to that house, everything in there is very, 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 very nice. It looks like it all comes with a very expensive price tag. And I didn't say anything to him about it, but I could kind of tell then where I was like just looking at everything like, how do you guys afford this? And then he has that car. I don't even know how much that car costs, but I bet it's
what car is
that Lexus. I'm sure that thing costs like 80 grand, but just like money. Like everything just looked like it costs a lot of money in that house.
You probably have a decent idea of how much money he makes.
Yeah, and it's not enough money to pay for all that, not even close.
Did you have any idea what Shanann did for a living or how much money she might have made?
I mean, I had an idea. I would consider her like a sales rep. I don't know how else to describe that. For the company that she worked for. And I don't know exactly how much she made. He said that she was really competitive and she liked to try to keep up with him. He's like, she gets close sometimes. So I don't know how much those two brought in. I mean, off the top of my head, if I could guess, probably somewhere around like $140K a year. I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know exactly how much he makes. And I don't know exactly how much she makes. But based just off of like what I know about the oil field, like, yeah, I would say that's probably an accurate estimate.
So even if they're making, let's just use the figure $100,000, they're living above their means or below their means?
Oh my God, like...
Way too much?
Way
Did he ever discuss with you any of those issues?
I mean, a little. I mean, I didn't know about the bankruptcy or any of that until I read on the newspaper about that, but I think he was really frustrated with the situation. He told me, he's like, I feel like my paycheck goes in my bank account and I just watch it go like this. He's like, but it doesn't have to. He's like, she makes it like that. And I was just
was he resentful for that?
I don't know if he was resentful. I just think he was frustrated by the fact that they could be doing a lot better financially, and she, from the vibe that I got, had really bad spending habits.
So she was a spender. The car hers or his?
I think it's hers.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that that's hers.
Do you know what other car they might have?
Well, I mean, his APC pickup truck.
And that's
it, I think.
That's owned by Anadarko, though, right?
Yeah. But so I don't think they own any other vehicles, as far as I know. I think it's just that thing.
And Anadarko doesn't allow him to drive that on his own personal time, right? No. So he's just got one vehicle.
Yep.
And it's a very expensive Lexus. And then they live in a pretty expensive house.
It's a huge house.
Yeah.
I was very taken back when I saw it. I was just like, whoa. How?
And then the
guys...
fixtures inside caused you to pause.
Everything was just like.
And then you mentioned today you read something about bankruptcy.
Yep.
What did you read?
That those guys filed bankruptcy for a lot of money.
Who are those guys?
That couple.
Okay.
In 2015. Oh, Shanann and Chris.
Thanks.
Filed bankruptcy in 2015.
Okay. And you said for a lot of money. Do you recall the amount?
No, because it was different in each of the newspapers, and I don't know which one to believe. Okay. So, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, yeah, I didn't know that.
Let's go just back to him and the financial. He tells you he has a concern enough to at least express something to you that he's frustrated with the way she spends, or he's upset with working so hard and never having any money, and she's kind of the responsible party for spending most of the money.
I pretty much got that vibe. I mean, he just told me, he's like, we're house broke all the time. I was just like, that's unfortunate. And I asked him, I was like, do you have 401k? And he was like, yeah. And I mean, the reason I ask him this is because if I get into a relationship with somebody, I want to know, like, what kind of baggage that they have. I think that's important if I walk into a situation where I'm like, hey, I have good credit and I have all these things that I've been building, and you don't have your stuff together, like, what are we going to do with this? And it's important for your long-term
You're smart.
thing. So I'm preparing. And so I just asked him, I was like, well, do you have 401k? And he was like, yeah, I do have that. And then I asked him, I was like, I didn't ask him, like, how much debt they had or anything, but I just said, is your lifestyle sustainable? And he was like, no.
Okay.
And I was like, how long do you think that's going to take? He's like, I don't know, but it's not sustainable.
Where did his girls go to school?
I don't know. He never actually told me. Like, when I asked him once, it was like when I was trying to find him an apartment, I was like, are you comfortable telling me where your girls go to school? That's in the text too. I was like, so I can figure out what distance from the apartment it is. I was trying to just make his life convenient with like him, his ex, his kids, and all the stuff that he needs to do and work. And he was like, don't worry about it. Their school's pretty centrally located, so anywhere in the area that we were discussing will be fine. And he just left it at that. So he didn't even tell me, which was fine. I respect that.
Daycare is obviously very expensive for a 3 and 5 year old.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So
I understand.
Did he ever bring did he ever discuss that?
Never.
Okay.
Never. Like I said, the only financial thing he ever said is just like, she just likes to spend money, like a lot of it. So that was just kind of the vibe that I got from that, and that it was a lifestyle that she liked to live, like very, like materialistic kind of lifestyle.
Wanted to
Like
project a certain image.
Yes, all the time. And he said that was why they got that house too. It's like she wants everybody to think that we live a certain way and that we can like sustain all this stuff. And he's like, and we can't. And I told him, I said, when you're in those situations, why don't you, I'm like, do you like voice your concern about this? And he told me, he's like, when I try to talk to her, he's like, she's really bossy and she usually shuts me out. And he's like, when she does that, he's like, I just let it go. And I was just like, all right. I mean, I don't try to like interfere with how those two interact. But I did ask about it because I'm just curious, because I would never put myself in a situation where someone was like, you know what, we're going to live in this house that costs like double what we can afford, and that's how it's going to be, because I want everybody to think we're fancy. Because I wouldn't do that. I mean, to me, like, I wouldn't put up with somebody doing that to me. And I'm not saying that that's what she was doing. I mean, for all I know, he could have been completely lying about this. He could be the one spending all the money.
Sure.
You know?
This is just what he told you.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's as far as I can interpret it. So I can't be like, well, oh, she needs to do this and she needs to do that. But he voiced his concern where it's just like, financially, I'm in a very bad spot that I don't need to be in, but I'm stuck in. And that was kind of where he was at. So, but I mean, he was never like mean when he talked about her. He was never hostile, like nothing like that. He just, I mean, very calmly like, this is the situation. And I think the only reason that he even provided me with that information is because I asked.
Okay. You said something about her being controlling or
bossy.
That's
what he said. Bossy.
In like all aspects of their life, or what? Do you know exactly what he meant by that? How that affected him?
I think he was just saying when he voices his opinion, it's not heard. Is the gist of that, which I thought, from what it sounded like from their separation, from them trying to separate, that was a big deal for him, where he was saying that the reason that they don't really get along anymore is because he feels like he's not heard. He says that he comes home from work and he tries to talk to her and she'll just be like, 1 minute, I'm on the phone. Or she'll like scroll through social media and she like doesn't acknowledge him. And he said that he'd addressed it with her a few times and they're calm. He said they don't really like fight. Like they don't scream and yell. And he said he'd addressed it with her a few times and he said it just fell on deaf ears. He's like, she just seems like she's not interested anymore. And I think it made him sad because, I mean, he was like all about his kids and he seemed like he was trying to be all about her, but it just wasn't reciprocated. And I think at that point he was just like, they just kind of like fell apart.
Okay.
Just kind of drifted apart.
Was that your words or his?
What? That they
fell apart.
Those are mine.
Okay.
Those are mine. He just said that they didn't communicate very well, and it wasn't in a aggressive way. Communicate. It was just the fact that they didn't like communicate at all.
They
didn't talk.
Yeah, they had children, and they was there ever mention that he was trying to resolve or save his marriage for the children's sake? A lot of people talk about that. Did he talk about that?
I mean, he told me that he believed that the only reason that those two had still been doing it as long as they've been doing it, 'cause He told me that her and him have had communication issues for about 6 years, where she just seems really like detached and uninterested in like trying to like build something with him. And he said, and I said, 6 years is a really long time for you guys to not fix that, considering they were married for what, 8? I mean, that's like the majority of their marriage. And he said, sometimes I think we just do it for the kids or something like that. I mean, it's been a long time since I had some of these conversations, so I don't know like verbatim, but it was pretty much just like
get you to remember some
yeah,
things.
like, but he said it wasn't just him though. He was like, I think she does that too.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and it was like this equal part where they are just kind of like going through the motions, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when he told me that she was cool with like the 50% everything and just like breaking it off and being really civil about it, it kind of made sense to me, because I was like, the way he made this sound, it wasn't, oh, she's this horrible person, or oh, I'm this horrible person. It was, her and I have drifted so far apart that it's kind of a mutual agreement that this is not going to work.
So in those 6 years, though, they had 2 children.
Yep.
And you said earlier you did not know she was pregnant until reading the newspaper.
Yep.
So that never came up in any conversation. There was no indications that that was going on.
None.
He never hinted to anything like
Nothing.
that. As far as you knew, he was just leaving her. He had 2 children, and that was the final take on that.
Yes. I know why he lied to me. He lied to me because if I'd have known that he had a child on the way, I'd have never wasted my time with him in the first place. Like, none of this would have ever even occurred if he would have just told me the truth.
So do you think if he found out that you, if, let's say this week you guys were to go look at some apartments, and this is hypothetical, but you've never found out that his wife was pregnant, would that have changed anything? Like you just said, if I knew his wife was pregnant, I wouldn't be in this picture. So if his wife was not pregnant, and forgive me, but if he takes her out of the picture, you're never going to know that she was pregnant, right?
What do you mean takes her out of the picture? Like,
If he murdered her, she's out of the picture. You're never going to know if she was pregnant. If he can get away with murder, you're not going to... I got divorced from my wife. You say, do you understand what I'm saying here? If she's gone...
But this...
Don't lead.
Hypothetically.
Please.
Yeah.
Don't
Hypothetically.
lead on.
If she...
Okay.
You understand where I'm going. If
Right,
you
but
didn't know...
You're leading into questions that are nothing with your...
If you didn't know, though...
Wait, Nick.
That she was there.
Did you hear what I said?
I'm following you. I just want her to answer a question that relates to... She said something that's important. That if he didn't have a child on the way, or if she didn't know that, she would have continued the relationship, right?
But he killed his kids. At what point does he think that I'm going to be in a relationship?
I'm not talking about the children. I'm just talking specifically about her. If you only knew, if the kids were still here, and he called you and said, "I'm divorced from my wife," and he gets away with this. Do you understand what I'm thinking from his aspect?
I still wouldn't do it. I still wouldn't do it because I'd be like, where did she go?
Okay.
Because I'm under the impression that she's a really good mom. Like, he never bashed her momming skills. Like, no, I wouldn't, no.
Okay.
No.
And that, you see where I'm trying to take that?
Yes.
So you guys never had a conversation about the child, period.
I didn't know at all.
All right. And by your words, if you did know, you would have ended the relationship.
Well, because it wouldn't have made sense to me that he's like, I'm getting separated. Oh, by the way, I have a baby on the way. It's like,
that's 15 weeks.
You are a liar. You're just trying to sleep with me. That's what I would have probably interpreted that as, and I'd have just shut that off at work, and that would have been the end of it.
Okay. All right. We can move past that. The week that he comes back from North Carolina, you don't remember, somewhere in the first couple weeks of August.
Yeah, I think it was the second week, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
So we'll just use August as a time frame. Is that fair? Because you know he left in July and he comes back in August. How many times do you think you see him?
I saw him a few times. I saw him this past Saturday. I saw him the Wednesday before that. And he wanted to see me more. I was the one who wanted my space. I was like, nope, your kids are home. Go hang out with your kids. And even on Wednesday, I cut it short. Like, he came and hang out with me for a few hours, and then I was like, go chill with your kids.
Okay.
I was always like,
do
really
you
respectful
know
of their
specifically where you guys went? Did you meet at your house? Did you guys go to any restaurants? Did you go to establishments? Where'd you go?
Last Wednesday, he came to my house. And this past Saturday, we went to, what's the name of that bar that we used to go to? It's not the same, the Lazy Dog, but it's the one off of 144th and I-25. I think it's 144th, up there.
And it's the Lazy Dog?
Yes.
Did he ever mention a Rockies game that night?
No, I don't think so. But there was a, the Broncos were playing.
Okay.
Which we couldn't see because they sat us in really crappy spots, but it's okay because it's preseason. But,
So, do you recall what time you went there?
No. I remember, well, kind of. So, he had to get a babysitter that night.
Do you know who that was?
Somebody who's really young. I remember I asked him who his babysitter was, and he's like, we have two. This girl's only 17, but the other one's out of town. So this girl's going to stay, and she doesn't do overnights, so I got to be back by 10. And I remember her saying that, and him saying that. And I don't know what time he got to my house. It was between, I want to say like 5:30. It might have been 5, but I don't think so, because I think the babysitter, if I remember correctly, showed up at like 4:30 or something, and he was like, I want to spend time getting my kids acclimated to her, and then I will come.
So his children didn't even know her?
Oh no, they knew her, but he was saying like he likes to like stay there for a little while. He doesn't just like walk out the door when
Okay.
they show up. It's like a transitional thing. And so that's why I'm saying I don't know how long it was. I want to say like 5:30, and then he had to be back by 10, so he left at like 9 something to be back by 10.
So he
probably
picks
like,
you up. What was he driving?
No, he didn't pick me up. He came to my house. We drove my truck.
Okay. So he gets to your house. You know what he was driving to get to your house?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure he usually drives that Lexus, but he doesn't always park it in my complex because the parking, there's not good spaces. So where you guys pick me up at, a lot of times he'll just park out there because there's room.
Okay.
So that kind of works so that because there's just not a lot of room in my apartment complex. But off the top of my head, I don't know what he was driving.
What kind of truck do you drive?
I drive a Toyota 4Runner.
Okay. So you guys take your 4Runner to the Lazy Dog.
Yep.
And you said they sat you in crappy location.
It's
Where
just
were you inside the bar?
When you walk in, you just hang a right, and we were like one of the first two booths on the right when you walk in the door. It's just not it's a good spot, but just not for the TVs. And we actually went to the other Lazy Dog. We went to the one that you and me go to. Where's that on? Federal and
20th.
It's 120th and Federal, and we went there, and they have a different menu, and I was like, I don't want to eat this food. So we should go to the other one.
So initially you go to the 120th
Yes.
location. Did you actually get seated?
Kind of, sort of. They were like cleaning off a table, and we were standing there just kind of looking at the beer menu and the food menu, and I was like, I don't want this. And so we left.
6 o'clock?
Probably somewhere around there, 6:30, and then we left and went to the other one, and we ate dinner.
And you're in like first or second booth right to the right of the door.
Uh-huh.
I'm just asking because if they have video, we want to be able to verify that.
Uh-huh.
So that's why it's important.
Uh-huh.
And you're there for how long?
I don't know. Probably we didn't stay for dessert, so I don't know. How long's the restaurant take? Like an hour and a half?
I don't know. I've never been to the Lazy Dog.
I don't know. Probably about an hour and a half, and then we went back to my house for a little bit, hung out at my house for a little while, and then he had to leave, and then he left.
Do you recall what time he left?
Off the top of my head, no. I remember he was like gonna be late to be back at 10. I think there's a text message where he starts texting me when he's home at his house.
Okay.
So you can probably figure that out. And I remember I texted him back and I was like, damn, that was quick. Or wow, that was really quick. He's like, yeah, I even had time to stop at the ATM or stop at the gas station, stop somewhere to get money to pay the babysitter.
Okay.
And I was just like thinking like, well, that was really fast. But I think he was still like a little late coming back, but nothing too drastic. So he probably left my house like somewhere around 9:30ish.
All right. And you go straight home. He texts you.
Well, I was already home.
Right. No, he texts you. He goes straight home from your house, and he texts you that he's home.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be in your text message.
It should be. I'm pretty positive that was not a phone call. I'm almost positive that was a text. Sometimes I get them flip-flopped, or I don't remember, but sometimes I know. I'm pretty sure that one was a text.
Saturday, during your dinner, what kind of conversation did you guys have?
I don't even remember. Oh, so he's been trying to like eat a little healthier than he normally does, and he's always like been in the working out since I knew him, and he like tries to eat clean, but he was trying to like step it up a little bit, and nothing like the people who do like the competitions and the shows that are all super restrictive. I mean, it was nothing like that. It's just like day-to-day general maintenance, but it's how I eat, and it's pretty healthy. And he's been losing a lot of weight. He lost, I want to say like 13 pounds in the time that we were hanging out. And honestly, when you start eating a little bit cleaner and you start working out a little bit harder, the first couple months, especially for a man, because they lose weight faster, it's not something that's like that drastic to me, but it did stand out that it was like a little much. And so I was like, whoa, like maybe you're not eating enough macronutrients. So let me look at them. So he had been working on his MyFitnessPal app and like programming like all the stuff he eats. And I just started going through them, and I was like trying to figure out like where his ratios were. And we actually spent a lot of time doing that because he'd asked me to do it for him. Because I just was at the point where I was like, if his weight loss slows down in a few weeks, he'll be fine. And if it doesn't, then his macros are a little off. It's not like that big of a deal like in the workout community. This is like a very normal thing. But
Did you have any other outside concerns, like potential drug use, alcohol use, any of that stuff that led you to go, oh, he's lost an extreme amount of weight in such a short period of time?
No, and I wouldn't call it extreme. It was just like, it was a lot, but I mean, when I first started working out, I dropped like 12 pounds in 2 weeks when I first started like hitting it hard with the diet. So the fact that he lost like that much weight, it wasn't, like I said, it was not a surprising amount. I just didn't want it to be like a sustained amount. But no, I didn't think anything weird of it just because of like how interknitted I am with the like workout community, and I know like this is possible. But it just, the thing that concerned me about it, I guess, and it wasn't even concerned, but the thing that like kind of red lighted me like, hey, this might be carrying on, is the fact that his macros were like pretty dialed in. Like I had wrote them and he like didn't stay exactly on them, but his calorie intake was about where it needed to be, my experience anyways, for like what he was trying to achieve. And so I don't know, he didn't seem to have a problem with it. He liked where he was at with all of that.
So that was your main conversation Saturday?
That was like a big chunk while we were there, is like us actually going through, because I was like going through each item like, why are your ratios off?
Do you know where his kids or wife were that night?
On Saturday?
Yeah, his kid. Well, you know his kids are with the babysitter. Do you know where his wife is?
She's in Arizona.
Okay. How do you know that?
Because he told me.
Okay. Do you know what she's doing there?
I think she's on a business trip. He didn't even tell me right away. He actually told me, I think, like on Saturday or something. It might have been like Friday or something. I honestly don't remember. I just remember I was like really surprised where he's like, hey, like, I'm going to try to get a babysitter if you want to hang out or something like that. And I was like, why do you need a babysitter? Like, your wife's home. He's like, no, she's out of town. I was like, oh.
Okay. Is there much conversation regarding that, her on being on a trip, or the children on during those conversations?
Not really. I just asked him what time she was coming home on Sunday, and he just said really late.
Okay.
And that was it. I mean, there's nothing really to talk about with that.
Okay. So your conversations mainly health related.
Mm-hmm.
You guys return to your house, and then he goes home, and then you talk to him for a few hours on Sunday.
Did I? Are you asking me, or are you telling me?
I'm asking you.
Oh, I was like, I don't even know. Someday, honestly, so, wait a minute. That was Saturday. We're talking about Saturday. We're not talking about Sunday right now.
Okay, so you're still on Saturday.
Yes.
You guys have a phone conversation when he gets home?
That was the day that he got the babysitter and I went out to dinner, not Sunday.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure
That's
you
okay.
got your
Yep.
days right. So Saturday, yes, we went out. He had the babysitter. He went home. I'm sure we did. We always talk on the phone. And honestly, I mean, Mark asked me that the other day. He's like, how long are you on the phone? 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Like, you're going to have to look at the records, to be honest with you. Like, so much.
You like to talk, I can tell a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
400, when she was young, she'd crank out about 400 words a minute, gusts up to 600. That little thing can yak, man.
You're a talker, so I'm letting you talk.
I need to use the restroom.
Let me show you where it's at.
Can you
So,
give me some water while you're out there with him, please? Thank you.
Another bottle?
let's
Yeah, at least one.
let's move to
Sunday.
Sunday. Well, let me reverse something. Your conversation with the children, or about the children, was there ever any talk about medical concerns with either of the children?
Well, I know Cece is allergic to not peanuts, like pine nuts. Pine nuts.
So she has a nut allergy.
Yes.
Did they take meds?
Yeah, I know that she had like an EpiPen, but as far as I know, she didn't have any meds. But I never asked. Like, I was just told like she has a pretty severe allergy, and
Enough to carry an EpiPen, that's pretty severe.
yeah. While we're on this, so when he was in North Carolina, this is all like hearsay now because it's like this is not a conversation. Like, he's telling me this stuff, but who knows exactly what happened. But he went out there to go see his family and her family. And while he was in town, before he went out to North Carolina, I guess his mother had accidentally, like, not exposed her to something with nuts, but had, like, given a product, I think it was like ice cream, to a different kid that could have traces of nuts or something. I don't know. But it was like his daughter was fine, but she was, like, in the range of contamination. And I think his wife was very upset about that. And when he got to North Carolina, he told me that he was supposed to spend like half time with them, half the time with her family, and that was supposed to be what it was. I don't know. But he said that he went to go see his family and they weren't answering the phone for like a day or two before he went out there. And then when he got there, there was a note on the door that said, son, if you step by, we're at the beach. And they ignored him for like most of the time that he was out there. And
His own family?
yes, his mom, his dad, and his sister.
What's the significance? Do you know why?
Yeah, he said, and again, I don't know what is true with this man anymore and what's not, but he told me that, like, leading up to it, I was like, well, why are your folks, like, ignoring you? And I was, like, really concerned about this. Like, every single day he would talk to me when he was out there, and I was like, you talked to your family today? You talked to your family today? Did you talk to your dad? What happened? Did you talk to him? No, I didn't. Or, yeah, I talked to my mom. Well, what'd she say? Are you going to hang out with him? Like, I wanted him to see his people because it's important. Family is an important thing. You know, it just needs to function properly. And,
Sure.
And so I was like, well, and he was like, well, they're ignoring me. And I was like, what do you think happened? And he was like, I'm not really sure, but I think something was said between my wife and them during that incident. And he's like, because
The
every time
peanut
yes,
or
that happened
nuts.
before he got there, yes. And he's like, because every time that I try to I talk about possibly going over there to see if they're home, she gets upset about it. And I was like, okay. And he told me that his mom and his wife did not get along at all. He said that his mom didn't even show up to his wedding because she's like really did not care for Shanann. Okay. So again, I don't know what's true and what's not, but I just know that there was like some tension there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like that part is like, I feel like it's almost third party. So that's why it's
Sure.
like I didn't even
Well, but
bring
it
up
came from
really.
him to you, so it's not. It is something that whether it's important or not, we can validate that. I'm sure we will be having some conversations with family. What does it mean? I don't know. But
Yeah, I don't know either, but I just know
so
like,
maybe she, I don't know.
well, and then he ended up seeing them on the last like full day that he was there, and they told him supposedly that she had gotten really upset and had screamed and yelled in front of Chris's sister's kids that are very young, and to his mom and to his dad, and said, like, you're never going to see Chris again, you're never going to see me, you're never going to see the babies, and just, like, threatened them, and then, like, walked off. And I guess that was the incident that happened prior to him coming out there, and then she didn't tell him about it.
Mhm.
She just, like, let it go, and then he just spent all week trying to figure out why his family was, like, not trying to be involved.
Gotcha.
So again, I'm not sure. That was like it just feels really third party, so it's hard for me to like talk about because like, I don't know how
That's okay.
much validation.
So
there is in all that.
beyond the nut allergy for CC, did you know of any other? Did she take meds that you know of other than carrying an EpiPen?
His kids or his wife?
No, his children.
No.
And now, well, if you know anything about his wife's medical conditions, if she had any.
No, I've like read in the newspaper they keep saying, oh, she had medical conditions, and I'm like, is that a misprint? Are they talking about CC, or is that just something else I don't know?
So you don't know anything about Shanann having any kind of medical problems?
No.
Okay. Covered Saturday. So there's a phone call Saturday night, actually, from, it can't be Saturday, it had to be Sunday. I wrote that down quickly. Sunday night. Is there anything else you think, let me just back up, from the Saturday where you guys had a meal at the Lazy Dog to prior for the 6 weeks that you guys were serious? And although your dad's here and I think you're probably pretty comfortable, your relationship with Chris was, can you describe your relationship?
I mean, when he was with me, I considered it to be fairly healthy. It was open communication, and it was what I thought was honest, and it was very calm. It was respectful. We got along really well. He gave me my space when I needed it. I gave him his, and anytime like he wanted to take care of it, like anytime that his kids could be in like his life for hours or days or whatever, whenever they were home, I made sure that I wasn't a presence in his life so that he could be the best dad that he needed to be. And I mean, I thought what we had, it was very comfortable for me. I enjoyed it. I think he did very much as well.
You guys, 6 to 8 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was, you guys have an intimate relationship during that time?
Yes.
Okay. So you're pretty serious. Did he ever tell you that he loved you?
Yes, he did.
Did you ever tell him the same?
A couple times.
Okay. Notwithstanding that today, because those thoughts may have changed for you, but on, let's go Sunday into Monday or Monday, did you still love him on those days?
I think it was something where it was like I said it a few times and I meant it, but he definitely felt the urge to say it to me a lot more than I did to him because it was just all very new to me, and it was like, take your time with this. Like, you don't need to like rush that, you know? Like, I remember when he was in North Carolina and he was like trying to patch things up with his wife and he told me he loved me, and I was like, don't say that to me. Like, please go try to fit. And I mean, and that might even be in the text too, where it's like, don't say those words to me and then go try to make peace with your wife and lay in bed with another woman. Like, just don't do that. And I was like, it's not that I don't appreciate what you're saying to me. It's like, it just didn't sit right for me, you know? So I just feel like...
Almost like an insecurity where he had to say that to you? Or?
I don't know. I think he like... looking back at all this now, I don't think he was trying to fix things with her. So saying, I love you, to me, seemed like probably something that he genuinely meant. Like, I love this woman. And regardless of where he was going to end up that night. But to me, in the way that I was perceiving things, he had told me that he was trying to fix things with her. So it's just like, this is an inappropriate time. And I wasn't mad at him. And I'm pretty sure that's in the text too, where it was very like calm, but it's just like, it's almost disrespectful, where it's like, please don't. I'm like, you know, if we get to that point where it is you and me, like, yes, you can say that, but not then. Like, that's...
So you thought he was very genuine when he said that?
Yeah, I did. I mean, and he wrote it. It's in all those cards I gave you. Not in all of them, but like the later ones.
And...
Thank you.
When you said it to him, you said you meant it when you said it?
Yes, I just didn't say it as frequently as he said it. Like, sometimes he would say it, and I was just like, for me, it was still, like, very, very new, so I kind of, like, took my time and only said it when I was just like, this is really important. moment.
So you got, I mean, in the short period of time that you guys were together, he
Yes.
became very attached to you.
Yes. Very,
I
very
mean, he's
attached.
sending cards.
Flowers.
He's telling you he loves you. He sends you flowers. Does he buy you any other gifts?
Nope. I wouldn't have wanted them anyways. Flowers is enough. You can't. I don't need expensive stuff.
Okay. But he becomes very attached to you.
Yes.
You guys are talking multiple times a day, at least. You're
All the time.
You're seeing each other on a regular basis.
Yep.
So it's a very and his wife is not around, nor are his children. So there's a lot of time for you guys to build your relationship in this first four weeks or so. Is that fair?
Yeah, and even when she was back, I mean, it was still like we were still spending time together. He was still spending time with his children, and I had my own life. Like, I mean, there was one week where I just like went out of town with my friends for my birthday. I wasn't even around the whole like last few days of June up until the 3rd of July. I was like gone, you know. And then there was another like last weekend. I had a friend impromptu come in town from out of state, and I hosted her for a few days. And it's like I still did my own thing all the time. Like, whether he was there or not, like, if my friends were like, hey, we want to make plans, I would tell him, like, we're not hanging out today because I want to go see my mom or my dad.
Did your friends know about him?
Nope.
Why?
Because it's like he's with 2 women right now. They don't need to know about
So
that.
if you had a boyfriend of 4 to 8 weeks on a regular, I don't know if you were married prior or if you had a boyfriend before, but if you had a steady boyfriend, you would have let people know. I think you told me before we got started that you just told your dad about Chris
No, I wouldn't
recently.
have told them. I wouldn't have told
Okay.
people. It's too early. I mean, people...
So you don't tell your friends, hey, I got
No,
a
because
boyfriend.
people come and go. I mean,
Okay.
dating scene these days is like, it sucks. I mean, so, no, I wouldn't. I mean, it would have to be something, even with Sean. I think I was with Sean for probably like 6 or 7 months before I brought him home to my family. I mean, I really, and same with, that was the guy I was in a previous relationship with, but I
But
mean,
this one you were a little bit more, you said he's with 2 women. Was that one of your considerations for not telling anybody about him?
Yes, well, I mean, it was like, okay, like this, to me, it wasn't going to be an extended thing. Like, if it got to the point where we were, like, dating for, like, 3 or 4 months and he's still talking about, oh, I'm going to move out, I'm going to sell the house, I think at that point I probably would have just been like, I don't think you're really, like, doing these things you say you're going to do, and I probably would have just, like, left, because at that point, it's not fair. It wasn't fair to me in the first place. It wasn't fair to her in the first place. It wasn't fair to any of us in the first place. You know, it wasn't fair to his family for him to have an affair. It wasn't fair to me to have him lie to me and make me think that everything is going to plan. And still to this day, I don't even know what's a lie and what's not. I don't even know if they were, like, filing for divorce. I don't know if they were putting the house up. I don't even know anymore what is real and what is not. But what I do know is it's just like, you know, that wasn't fair to me either, because if I'd have known not even all the truth, but like obviously some of it, I wouldn't have even engaged in any of this in the first place. And it just, I mean, and that's the part for me, just like on my personal level, outside of everything that is happening, that is gonna affect me long term. It's like, you know, I'm gonna wake up every day and know that, like, this mom and her unborn child and these 2 little girls are not around anymore, and it breaks my heart. It is so, oh my God. And then I have to think about, like, the consequences of his actions and how they affect everybody else. Like, all of these, her family's impacted. My name is about to be, like, slandered for probably a while. I don't know how long it's going to take to heal, but I would not be surprised if it's going to be hard to go out in public sometimes for a couple of years. And that really hurts me. I'm just like, this is a horrible, horrible thing. Like, how dare you, you know? And people aren't going to understand that. You know, they're going to say, oh, you know, you're the woman that had an affair with this man who took out his whole family. And I take a step back and it's just like, I didn't know. Like, he's so disgusting. I'm so ashamed of him and everything. And I just, oh, those little girls.
We talked a little bit earlier about getting some help for these things, and we can provide that
Okay.
at really no cost through the state.
One more we just want to make sure there's resolution.
Absolutely.
That's why we come to you guys to pound it down
Hey,
until there's
I'm
nothing left.
sorry that you're talking again today. I really am. I don't want to put you through any more trauma than you've already been through. There is reasons for everything that we're doing today and what occurred. And I'm sorry. I genuinely am sorry. These are not things that we like to do twice. It's the same thing with other types of victims from other crimes. We want to do it once and we want to be done. Unfortunately, we didn't know yesterday what we know today, and that's why we're here, because we need this video. And I am sorry, because I know it's hard to talk about it. But
it's so sad, and she's pregnant.
And you know, on our end, we
God,
didn't.
and they're so cute. They're so little. Like, why? Why? How? I don't even understand how you could, like, bring yourself to do that to somebody who's, like, that big. Oh, Jesus.
Take a minute. Do you want to step out for a minute?
No, I just need to chill with my eyes closed for a sec. I still cannot believe this is happening. Alright, let's keep going, because we're just getting to the meat of this whole situation.
Let's get to the phone call on Saturday from 9 to 11. What did you guys, or pardon me, on Sunday from 9 to 11?
Yeah, we talked a few times. So, Sunday,
Okay.
I think so. I need to think. I can't even think.
Take a couple breaths and take a second.
Sunday night. I don't even know. I don't think I was, like, concerned about anything at that point.
You guys had had a nice meal the night before. You knew his wife was probably coming home late that evening.
Oh, you know what? I still don't remember what we talked about. Honestly, we talk about so much random stuff. It's so hard to pinpoint some of these things. I don't remember what we talked about. I do remember that was a long phone conversation, though. We probably talked about all sorts of stuff. One thing I do remember, though, that I didn't remember earlier when I was talking to Mark, so this is, where I'm starting to remember, little bits and pieces. I don't remember, I know. So the phone conversation, I don't remember what was in the phone conversation. Probably nothing of relevance, to be honest with you. But usually he talks to me when he's down in the basement in his bed before he goes to bed and before I go to bed. And I could hear the TV on, which I thought was kind of weird. I didn't ask him. I just heard it in the background. And I remember thinking, and it was right before we got off the phone, I was like, why the hell is he up? And there's no TV downstairs, so I was like, well, maybe, I don't know.
So no TV in the basement where he usually calls you from?
Yeah, and I don't know how many TVs they have. I've never been in their bedroom. I went upstairs once, and it was, to their little playroom, and I just, looked at it, and I was like, that's super cute that your girls have books, and that was, it. And other than that, I have never been in any of those rooms in that upstairs. To me, it was just, you don't know. Ever. I had no, so I don't know if he has any other TVs. I'm assuming by how much other nice stuff they have in their house, it wouldn't surprise me, so I'm not quite sure what room he was in at that point. But I just remember hearing the TV, and I was like, it was just weird to me, because I was like, why are you watching TV right now? It is super late. And that was the only thing.
And he had phoned you? Or were you guys already talking when the TV was going, or...
I just remember, I picked up on it, later, but I don't think it was, throughout the whole conversation. Okay. I just remember it being towards the end, because I remember thinking, wow, it's really late.
Something I didn't ask you about the house, because you'd been there twice, and it just made me remember. Do you remember how you guys accessed the house?
That's a good question. So once through the garage, and I think once through the front door. I think the first time was through the front door, I think. And I think the second time was through the garage.
Was there anything unique about either of the doors when you went into the house that might not be typical of another house?
Like the unique door?
Not the
they
door
have a
itself.
camera on their door.
Okay,
I mean,
there's a
that.
camera on the which door?
It's on the front door, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
Did he use a key to access the house?
No. He did not. The first time I went over there, he just let me in. And then the second time, did we go through the garage? I don't remember. I've been through his garage before. I went through his front door once, though, because I remember he had just cleaned, it was the first time I went through his front door, because he had just cleaned his carpets, and he had moved all the furniture out of the way, and the furniture was kind of in the way of the door. And he's like, the door doesn't open all the way right now. I'll move all the furniture back when the carpet dries. So I do remember that, just kind of offhandedly. And the second time, I want to say we went through his garage, because I remember his garage. I remember, yeah.
So he was at the house when you went there. You were never there by yourself.
He was at, yeah,
or
no.
he took you there.
The first time he was already there,
Okay.
and I met up with him. And the second time we went there together.
So the front door, I asked if he had used a key.
He let me in.
Okay. So there's a, those keypads where you can enter an access code. Do you remember seeing that on his door?
Like, I want to say vaguely, but to be honest with you, I don't remember. Like, he let me in that day. That
So
was
he never
so
gave
long
you
ago.
he never gave you the code to access his home?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
You talked about a security system. There was a camera on the front door. Was that just like what a Ring doorbell is that goes to your phone?
I don't even know what it looked like. I only
Okay.
know that it existed either because A, I wasn't paying attention the first time I was over there, but B, because of all the stuff that's going on right now. That's the only reason I know
Okay.
it's in
Did you remember
existence.
seeing any cameras anywhere in the house?
No.
Okay. Did he ever tell you about the alarm system or give you an access code to the alarm system?
No. I wouldn't have asked for that. I wouldn't have wanted that anyways.
Sorry to regress to that.
No, you're
Go
okay.
back to the phone call, or where you noticed the television in the background of the phone call.
Yep. So I didn't know what room he was in, but I was just like, I just thought it was weird. Because he's always like, before I go to bed and I lay down, he's always like kind of trying to do the same thing. We just talk. It's like a really chill thing till one of us is about to pass out, and then that's like the end of it. But it was strange because I was like, the TV's on. I remember I was thinking, I was like, maybe he's waiting up for her. And then I was like, maybe not. I didn't know. It wasn't something that like alerted me. It was just different from his
Out of
standard
character for him.
operating procedure. Because whether his wife is home or she's gone, he's always got kind of like the standard op when he calls me. So that's why it was kind of like unique.
Okay.
Because it doesn't really fluctuate when she's there and when she's not there. He's pretty like free reign with what he does.
So anything important that you recall during that conversation about the children, about his wife, about what he was doing the next day, what he had planned, anything like that? Did he tell you any of that information?
I remember he told me he had to go to the field and not to the office on Monday morning.
Okay. Did he specifically say where he needed to go on Monday morning?
No, I don't ask him for those sites. There's like, Anadarko's got like thousands of sites. If he were to tell me, I wouldn't even
They're
know.
just like random numbers and stuff, right?
Well, he told me, he said, I gotta go to a site. I gotta go check out like a valve or something where they think that they had a release. Something like that.
Did he mention the town or anywhere?
No. He just told me that that's what he had to go do. He's
Okay.
like, he was like, I won't see you in the office in the morning. Because I see him, but I don't actually like talk to him. Like I will go in the cafeteria, I will put my lunch in the fridge, and him and his whole team are sitting in there, and I don't talk to any of them. I just walk out. But anyways, yeah, he's like, so I won't see you, I'm going to the field, which is not an uncommon thing for the ops guys to like just go straight to the field. Like it happens. Like typically they go to the office, I would say like 3 or 4 days a week, but there are days where him and his other team members are not there. Or like I'll get in there and some days the cafeteria is packed and they're all there. And other days I get in there and there's only like 3 or 4 of them.
So it didn't cause you any concern that he said,
No.
I'm going to the field on Monday, I won't see you. That wasn't,
No.
that's
it
happened
didn't-
before.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it wasn't something, I mean, and it's not just him, it's like that whole team. Like, you can just tell when they've got like a lot going on, because I'll walk in and there'll be like 2 of them, as opposed to like 6 or 7.
Do you know what he did Sunday during the day?
I don't even know what I did on Sunday during the day. I am so tired. Let me just think about this. Daniel came over Friday. I hung out with him Saturday. And then Sunday,
When did Jim come in?
Monday.
Oh.
Jim got here Monday. What did I do on Sunday? I am like drawing a blank. I'm really tired. I don't know. Can I get back to you on that?
Did you guys have any conversations on Saturday night during your meal, what he might be doing on Sunday?
I'm sure we did. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank because I haven't slept.
If I say that he may have done something with his children, would that refresh
yes.
your memory?
He went to a birthday party.
Okay. Did you know whose house he was going to?
Nope. But I know that they had a water balloon fight.
Okay. He had one, or his children?
His children did.
Okay.
He said he used to get really into it. He said he got like really interactive with his kids. He's like, some of the adults don't really spend a lot of time playing with the kids, but
We
I
went
always
to
do.
the museum on what day, Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay.
That's right. So
Okay.
that's what I was like, was I hanging out with you? God.
Very memorable event, huh?
We,
was,
me and him and my stepmother and my
wife.
sister
Yeah.
went to the museum, and
What
that's
museum?
right, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. And they went to brunch prior to that, and I skipped brunch, and I went to the gym.
You shouldn't have, it was good.
I had to do core day. That was the last time I worked out, actually.
That's
so
what we did Sunday, okay.
Yeah, so core day, and then we went to the museum, and then
When did he tell you about the water balloon fight on Sunday evening during your conversation on the phone?
I think so.
Okay. So
think
you don't know whose house he went to on Sunday, but you knew it was for a child's birthday?
Yeah, and he had told me about that in advance, really. So I don't know if it was Saturday that he had told me that he was going to go that birthday, or like Friday. I just remember he was like, I got to go to this birthday party with my kids.
Any other conversation that makes sense?
I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm really tired, so I know there are certain things that I need to tell you guys that we'll get to as these days progress.
Yep.
But in all honesty, if it doesn't stand out to me now,
Today?
it probably
That's fine.
wasn't relevant.
What about that 9 o'clock thing you were telling me on Monday?
Oh, that he told me? Oh yeah, well we'll get there. We'll get there. We're still on Sunday.
So we're on
night.
Sunday.
We're
gonna get to,
This is gonna be a long.
We're gonna
night.
get there to Monday. We're getting there. So Sunday night or Sunday during the day, you had your own personal stuff going on with your family. You never see him on Sunday. Is that accurate?
No, I didn't see him. What did I do the rest of the day? I came home. I think I might have just chilled at my house. I don't remember. I think I cleaned my house. I don't know. I didn't see him though.
Okay. And
Yeah, Saturday was the last time I saw him.
Okay. Sunday, you're at home. You talk to him. We know you have a conversation in the late evening hours, and then you go to sleep on Sunday night. When's the next time you talk with Chris?
Probably Monday morning.
Do you know what time?
No, I mean, so we used to like randomly text each other like throughout the day, but we both get really busy. So some days like I don't hear a lot from him, and some days I don't text him until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I'm just like busy. And I remember I didn't hear a lot from him that day, which was like, that's not out of the normal for either one of us during the day. But at one point I do remember he like texted me and he's like, oh, it's been a really busy day. And then like said some other stuff, which I'm sure you will find in my text. What he said, I don't know. It wasn't obviously anything that was like alerting to me. That's what I'm saying. Like at this point, like I remember really key things, but if it's like a conversation that I'm like, I don't remember exactly what was discussed, it's because it was probably just bullshit. Like just talking to each other. Yeah.
Small talk stuff.
Yeah. But I remember he was busy that day, and we didn't talk that much. And then I clocked out at 3 is what my time card says. That's what I was showing Mark the other day. And I got home,
to go meet my buddy. One of my good friends was coming over to my house, and he actually has a key to my house, so he was actually there when I got there. And
Who's that?
My friend Jim. And so Jim came over, and I got home. He was there. He had like just walked in the door, and I remember like briefly after he got there, I checked my texts. I mean, briefly after I met up with Jim, I like glanced at my texts, and Chris said something about like my family's not home, or like my wife and kids aren't home, like something to that effect. And I told Mark, because he asked me for a time, and I don't have an exact time, but I remember it was like right after I walked.
That was a text message, though.
Yeah, it's in a text, and it's like, it was like briefly after I walked in the door, so based off how long it takes me to get home from work and when I clocked out, it's probably about 3:45 p.m. Texts me and tells me that. And like, he knows when I get off of work too, so he doesn't always bug me if I'm busy, so I don't know what's up with that, but that's when he sends that to me. And
so you're saying that he would have known that you would have had your phone available to you and not been at work when he sent you that text message?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
So looking back at it, you think it was purposefully sent at that time?
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm just asking your feeling on that.
Yes, and then he said, call me when you can. And I was
There was
like,
no other communication between you and him that morning, on Monday morning?
well, there was, but it was like random, like...
But nothing about this event?
No.
About, like, my wife's missing, or...
No.
Anything?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
And you knew he wasn't coming to the office because he had told you that Sunday night?
Yeah, and then he goes, and so, like, they're only in the office for the morning. Like,
Right.
some days it's longer than others, but I would say by a maximum of 7:30 every single morning, they are all gone, and they don't come back unless they have, like, a meeting or something that they have to attend. So, like, not seeing him for the rest of the day is not, like, an unnormal thing.
Okay.
Like, but like I'm saying, like, we don't really, the only reason we interact was kind of, like, by an off-chance thing. Like, I don't work with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he, we talked like randomly throughout the day, but it was really sporadic, and he seemed pretty busy, so we didn't talk too much. Like I said, didn't put too much thought into it. It happens all the time. Waited till about 3:45, then sent that text to me, and yes, he does know that I will be home at that point. Or getting home.
Did you give Mark Jim's information?
No, I would really not like to involve him in this.
Okay.
He does not know about this. He doesn't know any of this is occurring.
Okay.
Like, I was
So
literally
he knows, certainly through the media, that something's occurred.
Yeah, he's
with
like
Chris.
out of town. He's probably has
Okay.
no idea. He doesn't know
Okay.
who Chris is. Like, he's not, I do not know.
So he's just a friend of yours.
Yes.
He
does
that
not need
was
to be
coming
dragged
to your
into this.
apartment and doesn't know anything about Chris. Does he know anything about
No,
Chris? Okay.
nothing. Absolutely
And
not.
we've known Jim for years and years.
You're not dating him or anything like that? It's
No,
just a
he's
friend.
like one of my very good friends. Like, my dad knows him. He's a great guy. He works out of state a lot, so when he's in town, we hang out. But when he's in town and he's off of work, to save time, so I give him the key to my house, one, because I trust him and he's one of my best friends, and two, because sometimes he will just meet me there, because I'll be like, hey, I'm getting off of work, and then if I get stuck in traffic or something, he ends up like sitting outside of my apartment waiting for me to get off of work. So I'm like, here's a key, and like my dog loves him and stuff. So no, he's not.
So he's just a
involved
family
with
friend.
Yes, I don't even
the only
want
reason
him
I ask,
dragged into this.
and I'm not really concerned about your location. I think we already have your cell phone records. At some point, did Mark ask you to supply? Did they ask for consent to get cell phone records? That'll probably be done by warrant. If we
Isn't
wanted,
that what you just did?
Nope. What I'm talking about is your movement.
Oh.
By GPS or by cell phone tower to show where you were. Obviously, and I don't want to cause you concern, we want to know where you were that day too. You're dating a man who did some egregious stuff, and we want to show that you were never near him that day. Period.
I mean, you guys
So-
can track my
No,
stuff.
yeah, I mean that was something we will have to get a warrant for, anyways. I'm just saying, if we asked for it, would you have any
Yeah,
objections to that?
No, you can have
Right.
it.
So,
I'm a pretty boring person. I
well,
don't
it sounds
go
like
too
you
many
just went to
places.
work that day, and then you came home and you were there at 3:45.
Yeah, like
on
give or
Monday.
take like 5
Yeah,
minutes.
whatever.
But yeah, so 3:45, I meet Jim there. Yeah, I would
And
totally
so
re-
Jim is understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45, done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin, or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to give it to you.
Just leave Jim
But
alone.
if
Jim does
at
not need
some
to be wrapped
point,
up in this.
if at some point I needed Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records, would you
You
tell me
can
who
have
Jim
them.
is?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was if I
If
couldn't
you
get
had
him?
to.
Okay.
I don't really want to
Great.
involve him in this. That's not
Perfect.
fair to him. That's not, no, if I do not have to do that.
That's fine.
Yeah, so anyways, Chris was like, call me.
And this is the 3:45 text.
Yeah, he sent me like a few. I think there was 3 of them, and I don't remember what the other one said. But something about like, yeah, my family's gone, or I don't remember verbatim, but call me when you can, or call me when you have a chance, something to that effect. And so when he told me call me, I was like kind of alerted, where I was like, okay, what's going on, you know? But first when he told me like his family was like not home, that didn't really seem odd to me that his family wasn't home. It was really vague. I'm like, okay, like, are they at the grocery store? Like, elaborate. And so, you know, and then, but he says, call me like it's like an emergency, but then just says that they're not there. And so I'm like really like floored by that. Well, not like floored, but just kind of like, he says, call me, so I'm concerned. And then he's really vague, so I'm like, maybe he just wants to talk to me? I don't know. I think it took me a little while to like really process the severity of the situation, just because this is not something that you expect to see every day, and the way that he talked to me made me believe that this is not what was going on at all.
Okay, so you make a phone call to him and you guys have a conversation.
I did. I stepped outside.
This is 3:45.
Ish. I mean, well, like, I think I actually interacted with Jim for, like, probably a good 15 or 20 minutes. I mean, he's my guest. He's in my house. So I don't think I called him right away. But, like, I mean, I'm trying to balance the fact that I have my friend here, and then Chris is saying that something needs to be addressed. But to me, it didn't sound like an emergency. I mean, it's all the time. Like, people aren't home right now. You know, so it just... It wasn't like, oh my God, I have to take this call.
It didn't register as being critical.
No. I mean, it was the way he said it. And I was like, okay. So I remember hanging out with Jim for a while, and then I stepped outside and I made a call, like, out on my back patio. And I called him. And he didn't answer the phone. And then he texted me back. Oh, no. Did he answer the phone? I don't remember. I think he missed my call, and then he called me back. Or he just answered. Either way, it was a very short talk to him where he was just like, I have to go. The cops are here. And I don't remember if he said that on the phone or over text.
That's
I don't
okay.
even, I'm so tired.
That's fine. You don't
But
need
either
the
way,
different,
like,
it's
the
just
cops,
the context.
Yeah, I mean, you guys will figure it out. The cops are here. And I'm just like, all right. And then I remember we were we were texting, but I was like hanging out with my company, so it wasn't like a nonstop text. It was just kind of like I would check my phone every once in a while, and we would communicate with each other. And he was just saying like they weren't there, and that her friend Nikki was there, and that her friend Nikki had called the cops. And I'm like, why would this girl call the cops? And like, I honestly do not remember the order of operations on all of this, but I'm pretty sure the majority of our conversation that night until my friend Jim left the house, which was probably pretty late, I don't even know what time, like 9 or 10, was all via text. So you should have this via text. Like,
Okay.
I don't think we started talking again on the phone until, like, after my company left. And he was like, I don't know, he just started, like, giving me details about stuff, and I don't remember what order, but he was saying, like, Nikki was really upset, and that the cops were there, and that they were, like, searching the house, and I was just like, what? You know, like, what? Why? And he was telling me that, they had, like, had a disagreement or something like that, and then, he told me, like, she was gonna go to a friend's house, and I was like, okay, well, maybe she left, you know, maybe she just, like, went to her friends. And then I don't remember, but I think he was the one that told me that her cell phone and her purse were still there. I think he told me that.
He told you her cell phone and purse were still there?
I think he did. I don't remember.
What's the significance of that in your mind at that time?
At that point, I thought this woman was really trying to get out of this house.
Okay.
That's what I thought, because he said that they'd had a disagreement, and I was just like, okay, well, I mean, I leave my cell phone at home.
When he said disagreement, what did he tell you what it was about, or?
Not at that point. Not at that point. So, again, like, you guys are going to have to check these texts, because it's all, like, my brain feels like mashed potato right now. But I remember him saying that, and I'm just thinking, like, well, maybe she was in a rush, you know? Like, maybe she was just like, I'm going to my friends. I'm leaving my cell phone here because I don't want you calling me. I don't want anyone else calling me. I mean, there are days where, like, when I'm outside of work, I will just shut my phone off. I just do it, and it's, like, my way of getting peace. So to me, that, I mean, like, it was weird that it wasn't even that weird to me that she left her phone just because I leave my phone, but it was weird to me that she left her purse. But knowing the fact that that girl was, like, always on her phone, then, yeah, I guess it is kind of odd.
Like, she lived on her phone, I think,
yeah.
pretty much, is my understanding of her and a phone. So, I don't know if you knew that.
I did.
Until prior to the media stuff, or just from Chris.
I did.
So, did that strike you as odd? But you're thinking maybe she just left.
I just thought she needed to, like, get away from the situation. I mean, that didn't seem that awkward to me, that a couple that is going through separation would be like, I need to leave. I just need some space. Like, it didn't even, like, process. I was like, okay, like, give her some space, you know? And on that note, too, when he was in, we're going to jump back for just a second.
It's okay.
I had a thought. So when he was coming back from North Carolina, that was when he officially told me we're going to get a divorce and we're going to put the house up for sale. Like, he told me they were separating and they were, like, going to put the house up for sale, but they hadn't done it yet. And then when he got back from North Carolina, that was when he was like, it was like a sealed deal.
Okay.
And the reason that is of significance is because at some point over the weekend, I don't remember when, he told me that they were putting the house up. I don't know if it was they were putting it up on Monday, like the day they went missing, or if it was that they were calling the realtor to verify some stuff so they could put it up that week. Like, I don't quite remember. I just remember, like, the house, which was supposed to be, like, on the market, like, that week.
Did he name a realtor ever?
Yeah, he did, and I don't remember her name. It was a female.
Okay.
And I don't remember her name, like,
That's
at all. I was trying to think of that for you guys not too long
Is
ago.
that the company? Do you got the company name?
No, he never gave me that. He, like, gave me her name, and it was the same name twice. He gave it to me once when he was in North Carolina, and then once the other time. Because I remember asking, I was like, who's that? Because he's like, I'm going to have her call so-and-so today and make sure everything's still good to go. And I was like, who's that? He's like, the realtor. It's like, oh. Or not today, but, like,
if it ever comes
Monday.
to your mind, just
yeah, I
give me a
doubt
voice
it. That
when
was
you
such
call.
a.
Yeah.
I will try. I don't
Lots of
remember
names.
what it was.
It's fine. It's not that critical. That person may come forward to us anyways, perhaps. So don't worry about it. Let's go back to the phone calls on Monday afternoon.
Yeah. So, so he's, like, texting me a lot of this information, and I'm starting to kind of freak out. And it's not like I'm freaked out, like, oh, she got murdered. I mean, that is not what I thought. It's like, okay, like, the way I looked at this, like, apparently his wife had been gone since midday, well, is when she got, like, reported missing. I didn't know that. Like, the way I looked at this, it was, I got home from work just now. I mean, he didn't say that, but I interpreted, I just got home from work, and my family is not here. So when we're texting for, like, a few hours, like, the cop thing was kind of weird. But he's like, Nikki insisted they call the cops. Nikki insisted they call the cops. And I'm like, okay, you know, and I'm just trying to figure out, well, like, what role does this woman play in this situation? Like, is she...
Did you know who she was?
No, I don't know any of his people. Like, this has been pretty, like, tight wrap for a while, which is probably a really good thing. But anyways, I didn't know, like, who she was. And so, like, I started asking him. I was like, well, where do you think your wife is at? And he's like, I think she'll be back tonight. Like, I think she's, like, out with somebody. And he was telling me that they had a disagreement. So I was like, well, I remember telling him, I was like, you should make sure that you have wait a minute. No. So all that happened, and then it starts getting kind of laid out. And I remember we talked for text for a while, and part of this conversation, and then it moved to the phone. And I remember telling him, because he was like, I think she'll just be back tomorrow. I think she's just going to be gone for the night, like, with a friend, you know? And
Did he name the friend?
No, he didn't. And, like, because I don't think, he made it sound like he didn't know, like, what friend's house she would be at. And I remember talking to him, and I was like, well, maybe it's that Nikki girl. And he's like, well, Nikki called the cops, so why would she be at Nikki's house? I'm like, I don't know, kind of throws her off the trail of where she's at, you know? And it's like, it sounds kind of weird, but it's like, he really made this sound like this woman was just, like, upset, left the house, and that was probably what he thought happened to her. And so I didn't really put too much, like...
Did he tell you the kids were missing as well?
Yes,
with her?
I knew.
Okay.
I mean, which made sense to me, because I was like, well, if you were at work all day... I mean, he didn't tell me he got home early. He didn't say that to me. So, I mean, it made sense. Like, if she's going to leave, they should probably go with her. And so, I don't know. I feel like I wish I should have, like, processed all of this earlier, but I just don't feel like... When one of my friends is gone, I'm like, oh my God, they got murdered. We should address this. Like, I haven't heard from them in 4 hours.
It's not a typical thought when somebody just checks out for a day.
No. So it got late at night, and, like, I remember telling him, I was like, he's like, I think she'll be back tomorrow. And he was going to go into work, and I told him not to. I was like, you need to stay home, and you need to help the cops. I'm like, and you need to wait for her to come back. And he's like telling me, like, well, what if, like, she comes back and she sees my truck? And I was like, you know what I would do? I was like, I would ask one of your good friends who's off of work tomorrow to come over this house and hang out with you while you're here. I was like, and go park your truck down the street. I was like, so she's upset at you and she wants to come back. I was like, but she doesn't want to be here if you're here, maybe. I was like, if she comes back, I was like, and she doesn't see your truck, maybe she'd be more willing to come in the house. I'm like, you know, I'm like, but don't be alone with her. I was like, because if she's upset enough to leave, I was like, you don't know what kind of confrontation you're going to have when you get back in the house. And I was like, so that's why you should have a friend there so that you're not alone with her. And I was like, and if for some reason you are alone with her, I told him, I was like, I really thought she just left. I did. I was like, get your phone, put it on video, and put it in your pocket. And I was like, and just zip it up. And he's like, why? And I told him, I was like, because you can voice record. I was like, so if she comes home, I was like, and you two are still, like, you know, if there's some choice words being said, because you guys obviously got into, like, something that's, you know, early
Did he
in the
ever
morning.
articulate what their argument was
He did,
about?
and I will get there. But, you know, I told him, like, just be prepared. You know, because at this point, like, it wasn't like I was, like, trying to make her to be a bad person. It was just like, I didn't know what was going on. I assumed that she had left, so I was like, well, when you get back, because I knew that they were going through a divorce, it was like, just cover your bases, you know, try not to be alone. And if you are, just record what you guys are talking about, so, like, at the end of the day, like, nothing bad happens to you, you know? And, like, that was kind of how I processed that whole situation. And so, he was like, all right. And then, she didn't come home that night. That was Monday night, right? Yes.
We're talking about Monday.
Monday night, yes. And he told me this is what he told me they talked about, and I realized that this is like total bullshit, and I think he's telling you guys a different story. And I think the reason that he's telling me what he's telling, I think the story he's telling you is probably slightly more accurate than the one he told me on this case, and the reason is because I think he was trying to save his ass with the fact that she's pregnant. So he told me that she had asked him to wake her up before he left for work on Monday morning. And so I don't know if she did that on a text or how it was supposedly communicated. But he said that he went to get her up, which I also found weird because, like, she's still sleeping when he leaves because she gets up with the kids, and they get up shortly after that, but, like, it's just him in the mornings, you know. And so he said that she woke up and those two kind of just like got in a disagreement, and I don't know what all was said, but he was like, she was being pretty mean, and then he said, she told me that she's pregnant, and she told me that the kid is not mine. That is what he told me.
So she's pregnant, the kid's not mine.
And that she's...
Like he's playing it, he didn't know she was pregnant
Yep.
until that morning.
Yep.
And that she had an affair with somebody else.
Yes, and this is before I knew she was 15 weeks pregnant.
Okay.
Like all the stuff on Monday that I read from my recollection, because I didn't find out she was pregnant until Tuesday. So anything that got posted on Monday did not emphasize the fact that she like had a baby on board. So then...
Let me ask you something. You said that he usually gets up in the morning and just, it's him and she gets up and takes care of the kids. Is that the routine that you know for them? Or do you know him to get up and like prepare meals prior to him leaving the home?
Well, he gets up and he like goes to the gym and he works out in his basement and like makes breakfast, and I don't know.
Does he make breakfast for himself or does he make breakfast for his children?
I don't know. I don't know. They're still sleeping at that point. Like all I know is he at one point in sometime in this whole thing, he told me that they usually get up at like 6:30, and she gets him ready and takes him to school and like does all the morning stuff with them, as far as I know. And then in the afternoons when he gets home from work, he kind of does more of the afternoon stuff.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a tag team operation that they have going on, but I think she does more in the AM and he does more in the PM.
Right.
It's
Thanks.
kind of how I process that, but I don't know.
Okay. So she's mean to him and then throws this out.
Yes.
That she's pregnant from another man.
And I said, do you believe her? And he was just like, he said something about like, oh yeah, like she kind of looked like she was showing when we were in North Carolina, but I wasn't sure. And I'm like, so you think she's pregnant? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, do you think she's like having an affair? And he's like, I think she said that out of spite. And he's like, and I was like, okay. And then, and again, like, I think he's just saying all this to me to try to cover his tracks with me. Like, I don't know what he told you guys, but I bet it's probably very different. And I think that what he said to me, it was like directed towards me. Like this whole bullshit little box lie that he had right there was like the lie directed.
Did he say when the argument started?
Nope. He just said it was in the morning. He said he woke her up in the morning.
Okay. Did he say when she came home? Did he ever let you know that?
I think I want to say he said around like 2, but I don't know.
Okay. And then he woke her for what purpose?
Because she asked him to.
Okay.
So I was under the impression that he was asleep. I'm assuming this is how it like went, and what he was trying to tell me is that he was asleep by the time she got home. And she sent him a text and said, wake me up before you leave. And then he woke her up, and they got in an argument, and then he went to work.
Okay.
That's how I processed
And the
it.
context of that argument, again, was just she's pregnant. And is there anything else that he shared with you?
He did not elaborate on it, and I didn't ask.
What were you thinking at that time?
This was like on Monday. Again, at that point, I was like, I still thought she left. I mean, this was all on Monday. Like, I legitimately thought this woman left the premises with her kids and just wanted nothing to do with him for like 24 hours.
So his story was believable that she was pregnant from another man and maybe she took off for that guy, or...
He said several times, like, I think she just said that out of spite.
Okay.
Like, he thought she was with one of her friends.
So he held true to that story.
Pretty much.
She's just leaving and she's with a friend.
That was kind of what he thought. And that's kind of what he had me believing. And at the time, I wasn't really alarmed because it had been like a half a day.
Sure.
And so then Tuesday rolled around and...
Did you see him at all on Monday? You said you didn't,
No.
right? Earlier.
I did not see
Okay.
him. And I went to work Monday.
Did he ever
Tuesday.
try to convince you to come see him or say he wanted to come to your house?
No, not at all. We were supposed to go pick out apartments to go look at on Wednesday, so yesterday. But that obviously
Right.
didn't
So
happen.
on Monday he never tried to be convincing to get you to come up to see him?
No.
Nothing?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think so, because my buddy Jim was over Monday and Tuesday, and he knew Jim was over Monday and Tuesday, and that's why we were going to hang out on Wednesday.
Okay.
So no, he didn't ask me. So Tuesday rolled around, and she still wasn't around, and this is when I started getting kind of sick. Like, my friend Jim was sick on Monday when he came up, and I don't know. I just started feeling like crap as it was. And then I was just kind of having a hard time focusing and like thinking about what was going on. And I'd asked him a few times, I'm like, where's your family, Chris? Like, where's your family? You know, and he would tell me like, oh, I don't know, or I want them home. Like, I asked like several times. So I think I got different responses, but each time like he didn't know where they were. You know, and I'm like, she's still not home. And he's like, no. And I had also asked him to like, he said he had a friend, Dave, that was a cop, which I also find convenient that there's another Dave working this case who's a cop. But I was like, well, if Dave's off, why don't you just have him like post up outside your house too and see if she shows up, you know? And he told me on Tuesday morning, he was like, I called Dave and asked him to sit outside my house and he's going to do it. And he's like, and then my friend Nick is coming over later on this afternoon. And I was like, okay.
Did you ever hear Nick's name before?
I've actually heard that name a few times, like,
okay.
around him. Like, there's certain... I never heard Dave before. Dave was new, but I've heard the name Nick a lot, so I don't know if that's, like, real or what, but if I was to guess, like, friends that he, like, legitimately has, I would assume that he was one of them. But, yeah, because I know he's told me before, like, when we first started hanging out, that Nick lived kind of in the area, and he's like, he actually goes... He's a trail runner, and he's like, he runs at East Lake number 3.
So he lives in your area?
Kind of.
Okay.
And I remember him saying that to me once. He's like, you know that park that we like hung out at? I was like, yeah. He's like, my buddy runs over there. We should not go to that park anymore. And I was like, okay. That's cool. And anyways,
Tuesday morning. We're almost done.
I know. I'm trying to just keep it all together here for you guys. Tuesday morning. Oh, so he said Dave was going to stay outside of his house, and Nick was going to come over that afternoon. I was like, all right. And then I think most of the texting throughout that day was kind of like, have you heard anything? Like, what's going on? It was kind of like me checking up on him. And I don't remember everything, but it wasn't, I didn't even make it through the entire workday. Like, I was feeling really, really sick, like, in general. And then I decided on my lunch break to get on the internet and look at what was going on with all the reports. And I saw a report that was like, this woman who's 15 weeks pregnant and her 2 daughters are missing. And I was like, whoa, what? And I was just like so floored, and I read a couple other articles just to make sure that, you know, all the newspapers are, and like just double check, like, am I really reading this right? And I'm like, okay. And he had told me previously, like, she says she's pregnant with another man's kid, but he'd said like he could kind of tell in North Carolina, but that girl is like obviously pregnant. I mean, in her photos. I mean, 15 weeks, that's like 4 months. That's pretty far along. And so it's like, how would you not know if she's showing? Like, you totally know she's showing. And so, oh my God, I got so sick. I was just like, I need to go. I just like packed my stuff and I left work and I went home. And I remember I told Jim that I was going to get home early, and he wanted to come over right away. And I was just like, I just needed some time to like process what was going on. But I did tell him, I was like, you can come over earlier than you did yesterday, because he didn't want to wait in traffic. That was the thing. He's like, save me some time. So I don't remember what time he got there. I probably still have that text because I don't have any reason to delete those. But he came over a little early, but I did have like a gap of time in there. I don't know how long it was. I bet it was like from the time I got home to the time Jim got there, but it was probably like, I don't know, hour and a half maybe, somewhere around there. I remember talking to Chris during this time, and it was like all text. I did not talk to him on the phone at all on Tuesday. And I was pretty upset, where I was just like, you know, I was going back and forth like, where's your family, this and this and this, but I'm like, she's pregnant, you know, and this and this, and he's like, the baby's not mine, and I'm just like, you told me yesterday that you think that when she said that she cheated on you, she did it out of spite. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, so then it's your kid. And he kept denying it. And then, like, he started, like, kind of worrying about us. He'd just be like, well, does this ruin everything with us, this and this and this? And I'm like, no. I'm like just trying to, like, his situation is so much more important right now than, like, our situation.
But his main concern is you and him.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, and I keep, like, asking him, like, I'm like, and I told him numerous times, which is also in the text that you guys will pull, where I'm just like, you need to focus on finding your kids and your wife right now. And I was like, and you need to focus on finding all 3 of your kids. And I, like, kept, like, emphasizing to him, like, he had 3 kids, you know? And, like, I wasn't even, like, mad about it. I was just like, you need to find your family. You need
Did he ever go look for them that you know of?
I don't know. I don't think so. That, like, doesn't even, like, ring a bell to me, so I don't think so.
Okay.
But, oh, and I forgot something else that's really important. I will add it in there, too, but let me just finish this thought. So then, Tuesday, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. So I kept telling him, I was like, Chris, I know it's yours. It's okay. I was